Chapter 1978. Kill. Chapter 1978. Kill. Face smacking had to be accurate, and attack had to be ruthless. One slap, and you're looking for your teeth all over the ground. This is just a normal slap in the face. What was worse was that he had been beaten so badly that he couldn't find the north anymore. Furthermore, he didn't even know how he had done it. Stunned. Everyone in the arena was stunned. Why did he kneel down? Why did he kneel? Wasn't the purple-robed poison corpse trained by the Wong family over 100 years? He was extremely loyal to the Wong family. Only the Wong family had the ability to control him. However, he suddenly knelt down before Long Fei and even spoke. He spoke. This was even more unbelievable. Every single poison corpse was created from the corpses of powerhouses that the Wong family had secretly bought. Simply put, these poison corpses were all dead people. How could a dead man speak? How could a dead man kneel? It was completely impossible. What's going on? The poison corpse kneels? Is this a new tactic? F***CK. He shook his head as he muttered. Impossible, impossible, absolutely impossible. No one can control the poison corpse. Our Wong family refined. No one can do that. Kid, what did you do? At this moment, all sorts of insults and ridicule rang out around Wang Zhong. What bullsh** T Wong family? What dogs hit poison corpse? Go. When the poison note landed on Wang Zhong's face, he became extremely angry. Qi Xiener directly stood far away, revealing an expression of not being familiar with Wang Zhong. The crowd was in a state of panic. No one knew who it was, but a kick landed on the dazed Wang Zhong, and he tumbled down from the stands. After a few miserable shrieks, Wang Zhong rolled over to Boundary's cage. Seeing the purple-robed poison corpse still kneeling on the ground, the idea moved and shouted, "I order you to kill him." Immediately, the purple-robed poison corpse did not move. Long Fei thought to himself, the god's poison is really sharp, it can even control corpses. The purple-robed poison corpse looked to the side and stared coldly at Wang Zhong. Wang Zhong immediately shrunk in fright. Purple-robed poison corpse said, "Master, he wants to kill you. Do you want me to do it?" Long Fei grinned and said, "No rush." Long Fei looked at the judge and said, "Judge, do you still need to fight? Have you not pronounced the verdict yet?" The referee looked towards a private room. God's Rudder's face was full of shock, but in the end he still nodded slightly. Victory. 14-14. 18th consecutive victory. As soon as his voice faded, the Boundary's cage opened right after, and the twins pounced in, jumping into Long Fei's embrace as they cried, "They scared us to death." Long Fei said gently, "Don't worry, I'll be fine. Go and collect the money now. I still have things to do." In the distance, when the purple-clothed girl saw the twin girls jump into Long Fei's embrace, she didn't know why, but a surge of jealousy and envy arose in her heart. The feeling disappeared. The purple-clothed girl giggled. "Uncle Nether, I think he will win." At this time, the nether slave behind the purple-clothed girl had already disappeared. The purple-clothed girl slightly trembled, and her gaze instantly sank, because he realized that there was someone in the crowd that was actually walking towards Long Fei, a person that even she feared, the person who lived on the 10th floor of God's Hotel. Immediately, the purple-clothed girl also moved and quickly walked towards Long Fei. There were simply too many people around, so Long Fei was simply unable to sense them. He walked out of the Boundary's cage and walked up to Wang Zhong's side, coldly staring at him. The purple-robed poison corpse spoke again. "Master, he wants to kill you. Do you want me to do it?" Long Fei's finger moved slightly. The purple-robed poison corpse instantly appeared in front of Wang Zhong and lifted him up into the air with one hand. It was like lifting a small chicken as it stared coldly at Wang Zhong. Die! As soon as he finished, his 5 fingers came together, forming a blade. Swish! It pierced straight into Wang Zhong's chest. The purple-colored poison corpse crazily scattered all over his wounds. Wang Zhong's pupils rapidly contracted as his body spasmed non-stop. He couldn't even make a sound. Long Fei sneered. How does it feel to die at the hands of your own clan's refined poison corpse? It's great, isn't it? Ha ha ha. Stop. A furious roar. An enormous aura attacked. It landed heavily on the purple-robed poison corpse and instantly snatched Wang Zhong away. Wang Zhong's face was covered in purple poison. At this moment, poison attacks the heart. The old man looked at the purple-robed poison corpse, then stared at Long Fei and said solemnly, "Brat, I have remembered this debt to you, our Wang family, and you are irreconcilable." Finished. The old man didn't linger. He picked up Wang Zhong and quickly left. He had to save someone. Long Fei waved his hand. "TCH, from the moment you injured my brother, I have been irreconcilable with your Wang family, and you still have to say that you are irreconcilable. Very contemptuous. The Wang family." Long Fei would never forgive her that easily, because they almost beat Wang Tai to death. He had yet to take revenge. It was also at this time a man around 30 years old quietly landed behind Long Fei. At this moment, the purple-clothed girl appeared at the same time. Without waiting for the man to speak, the purple-clothed girl directly pulled Long Fei's hand and pulled him to her side, as she said in a low voice, "Be careful." The man's expression was very calm. He gave a faint smile. "Young Valley Master, I have no other intentions." Chapter 1979, Blasting Fist. Chapter 1979, Blasting Fist. Luby, that person has already won 18 consecutive victories. Same as your record. Inside the secret room, Li Yuanba paused for a bit. Following that, without much thought, he started punching the thick steel plate again. 18 consecutive victories within one day. This was the record that Li Yuanba had kept. Of course, if there were still people who accepted the challenge, Long Fei could continue fighting. Even the Wang family's poison corpse had lost, so no one at the scene dared to challenge Long Fei. Who else? Who else? Long Fei shouted out a few words, but no one responded. Since no one is willing to accept the challenge, let me see what the reward is. Long Fei opened up the system to check. Dark refining hammer. A pitch-black hammer was lying among Long Fei's space ring. Weapon. Long Fei looked at its properties and was startled. Holy shit, it's not a weapon, a hammer used to refine weapons? Isn't this too extravagant? God-tier equipment. Success plus 15% critical hit rate, plus 15% durability, plus 15% attack, plus 15% attack speed, plus 15%, luck plus 15%. It was like a god's set. These attributes are not the properties of the dark refining hammer, but rather the weapons forged with it could trigger so many attributes. Simply put, even the weapons forged with dark refining hammer were top-grade weapons. I wonder if I can use it to refine the god's steel? I'll give it a try when I have the chance. Long Fei muttered in his heart. At this moment, the purple-clothed girl said, slightly, 18 consecutive victories. That's enough. Long Fei asked the twins, how much is 10 million godstones left? The twins said, about 3 million. How about this? We'll call again tomorrow. We'll pay them back tomorrow afternoon anyway. Since no one agreed, there was no point in continuing to fight. At any rate, they were only a single match away from reaching the 10 million divine stones. As long as he won this battle, he would be able to easily acquire 10 million divine stones. As for the violet-robed maiden, she said, "You won't be able to fight tomorrow. I'll give you enough money to make up for it." Long Fei looked at the purple-clothed girl and joked, "Why are you so good to me? Was he attracted by my handsome appearance? Don't tell me you want to raise me?" Long Fei was very clear. The purple-clothed girl definitely had a purpose for helping him. Although he didn't know what this goal was, at least the purple-clothed girl didn't harm him and didn't create any distance just because of his identity. At least, she was not like the others. The purple-clothed girl giggled and said, "I want to take care of you. Just give me a chance to take care of you." "Huh." Long Fei was startled and said, "This—" The purple-clothed girl laughed again and said, "I was just teasing you. Let's go. I can't stay here for long." The purple-clothed girl said, "Slightly." At this moment, clang, clang, the bell sounded once more, and silence descended upon the entire room. Everyone turned to look in the direction of the bell. In the room, God's rudder suddenly stood up. Who rang the challenge bell? They had truly plotted how to get rid of Long Fei, and they thought of the Luby who had won 101 consecutive victories. At the same time, they also thought of other ways. "I don't know him. He's not someone from the city of martial arts. Lord, I've never seen this person before. Who is it?" The elders of the gods' commercial alliances all shook their heads, indicating that they had never seen one before. However, the purple-clothed girl's forehead tightened. Long Fei's eyes also slightly moved, because he was precisely the man who wanted the gods' steel just now. The bell tolled. The man faintly smiled as he looked at Long Fei and said, "You still have a chance now." The purple-clothed girl said in a low voice, "Thousand Faces Ghost, what exactly do you want?" The man said, "I have yet to obtain what my master wants. As long as he takes out that piece of God's steel, the conditions that I promised earlier will still be fulfilled. In City of Martial Arts, no one will dare to even touch you." The twins whispered, "Thousand Faces, how could someone call out that name?" The purple-clothed girl said, "He is from the Legend Palace and calls himself the Thousand-Faced Buddha. Every time his appearance is different, and it is said that he has 1,000 faces." Long Fei asked, "Then how did you recognize him?" The purple-clothed girl said, "The aura from his body." Chi. Long Fei trembled slightly. His aura was extremely complex. To be able to distinguish the aura of a person within a large crowd of people, this ability was definitely extraordinary. More than that, the true strength of the violet-robed maiden wasn't in the ability to distinguish auras, but in the ability of the heavens to hear. The purple-clothed girl said, "If a person changes again, his aura won't change. I've seen him once, so I remember his aura." He would remember a person's aura every time he saw one. How terrifying was this? The purple-clothed girl said, "Now isn't the time to talk about this. The people in Legend Palace are all abnormal monsters, and Thousand Faces Ghost is hard to deal with. You can't go." At this time, Thousand-Faced Buddha said indifferently, "Hand over that piece of steel, and I will guarantee your safety. If you don't hand it over, you will die today." Easily stated. This tone simply did not put Long Fei in her eyes. In his eyes, Long Fei was not even worth mentioning. This was not contempt, but a strong confidence. Long Fei felt a little bad in his heart. Maybe you don't know much about my character, but I can say anything I want, and the thing I hate the most is others threatening me. Those who threaten me are all dead. You are no exception. Finished. Long Fei took a step forward. However, the purple-clothed girl pulled Long Fei back, shook her head at him, and said, "Don't go." The man smiled and said, "Young Valley Master, don't stop him." The purple-clothed girl said, "Thousand Faces Ghost, I don't care who your master is. If you dare to even touch him, my Night King Valley will be irreconcilable with you." The man said, "That will depend on whether he knows anything." The purple-clothed girl said, "You." The man said, "Besides, does the current Night King Valley still have the qualifications to fight the Legend Palace?" Ha ha ha. With a smile, he strode into the Boundaries cage. The surrounding audience were all dumbfounded. Night King Valley? Thousand-Faced Buddha? Legend Palace's words were enough to stun them completely. But the people from the gods' commercial alliances were all incomparably excited. When the people from the Legend Palace make a move, then this kid will have a hard time escaping death. This is even better. It'll save us the trouble of making a move. Legend Palace. Master, could it be that you are an esteemed guest at the 10th floor of the Gods Hotel? It seemed. They're here for that thing, too. An elder said in a low voice. The center of God's rudder's brows tightened as he said, lightly, "Seems like that item is not ordinary. Even Night King Valley." And the others were shocked by it. "You must be on your guard at the auction tomorrow night." God's rudder was slightly worried. "Don't worry. Tomorrow the rudder will send someone to ensure that everything is safe and sound." Brat, come up and die." Thousand-Faced Buddha smiled faintly. Long Fei took a step forward and said, "I cannot allow anyone to act tough in front of me. You are powerful, right?" Blasting Fist. Chapter 1981. Undercurrent Surge. Chapter 1981. Undercurrent Surge. "Lord, you are awesome." Hee. "You're the best." The twins automatically pecked Long Fei's face lightly. The purple-clothed girl looked at Long Fei and could not help but ask, "How did you do that?" The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up. Looking at the purple-clothed girl's purple veil, he said, "I'll tell you after you take off the veil." The purple-clothed girl was stunned for a moment and did not ask further, but instead said, "You killed the people from Legend Palace. They won't let you go easily. You should be more careful." Finished. The violet-robed maiden turned and left. Long Fei looked at her back and muttered, "What exactly is your goal?" "Sir, we have enough money." Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "It's not enough yet." The twins were surprised. "We already have 15 million divine stones, so why isn't it enough?" Long Fei said, "The two of you still need to pay the ransom." The two girls were so moved that they were in a mess. With tears in their eyes, Long Fei hugged one of them and asked, "What are you crying for? You are my women." Long Fei would not abandon the two of them. He was responsible for his woman, no matter what their birth was. Since he was with them, he had to take care of them. Within the damp secret room, an elder stood outside the door, a servant kneeling beside him. His face was bruised and bruised. He had just avoided a deadly attack. The elder slightly said, "As a staff member, it is against the rules of the underground boxing ring to use public funds to gamble and waste your hands." The guard kowtowed again and again. "Elder, I just want to save my mother's life. Moreover, I have repaid the money I had misappropriated. I beg Elder to spare my life. I beg you." The elder smiled coldly and said, "You're begging me? I might as well beg him." The guard was surprised for a moment. "Big man, please save me. I don't want to die. If I die, then there is no one to take care of my mother. Please save me." Li Yuanba turned around and looked at the elder and said, "Speak, what do you want me to do?" The elder toyed with his nails as he sneered. "Tomorrow go and fight with me." Li Yuanba asked, "Who do you want to fight with?" The elder's eyes flashed. "Number 1414. The guard asked, "The one who won 19 consecutive victories today." "Tall guy, he is very strong." Today, the people from Legend Palace were all killed by him in one punch. You. Without waiting for him to finish, the elder stepped on his head, and he coldly said, "Do you have the right to talk here?" Li Yuanba looked at the elder and said, "All right, finished." He turned around and walked back to the thick steel plate. "Can you let him go now?" "Ha ha ha." The elder laughed. "Of course you can." And then he left with a long laugh. The attendant got up from the ground and said in a grateful tone, "Thank you." Chapter 1982, Crafting of Berserk Knives. Chapter 1982, Crafting of Berserk Knives. Ding. Refinery failure. Boom. Long Fei's idea was killed. Ding. Refinery failure. Boom. The idea was killed once again. Damn. It's even harder than killing Steel Armor Beast. Long Fei complained. He wanted to refine the god's steel into a wild blade that was unrivaled in the world. However, half a night was spent in failure. It was too difficult. Phew. I don't believe it. Long Fei once again entered the world of Dragon Coffin's cultivation mode. I choose artifact forging. Among the various materials that appeared in front of Long Fei, there were God's steel-s. No matter how he used the fire and used his spirit power, he was unable to melt the god's steel. If the materials could not be melted, how could he forge a weapon? Right. I still have Xiao Yin. Xiao Yin, borrow your heavenly flame. Long Fei moved. Last time, when Xiao Yin was heavily injured and was recuperating in the Sumi rings, S experience had soared. Although the current Xiao Yin had not reached the Do-Di realm, his control over the heavenly flame was already quite strong. However, Xiao Yin could not enter the training space at all. The colossal dragon faintly said, "You can use the power of nature to refine medicinal pellets, and naturally you can also use the power of nature to melt the sky essence steel armor. Although refining and alchemy are different, the usage of the fire is the same." Yang fire. Yin power. If you can control these two powers, there won't be any weapons that you can't refine in the 100,000 dimensions. Yang fire? Yin energy? Long Fei silently repeated, and then he calmed down and understood the meaning of those words. The dragon would not lie to him. Since he said it so clearly, then he must have a way to control these two powers. In element month, the sun belonged to the sun. Could it be to use the power of the moon and the sun? However, when the moon appears, the sun will set. Can't we inject it into the moon at the same time? Long Fei felt his scalp tingling. He was not very good at solving any problems. However, his scalp was going to go numb. There was still a fierce battle waiting for him tomorrow. The blasting fist was his trump card, unless it was his last resort. After all, 10 hours of cooldown was still too long. Lunar energy. Sun fire. Long Fei seemed to have comprehended something, as if he had not grasped anything. His eyes slightly closed. The heaven and earth is the furnace, and the natural energy is fire. Wang. Asterisk, a ball of fire appeared in front of him. These were flames from the alchemy. Right now, Long Fei could control it very well, but the flames used to refine artifacts were much stronger than those used in alchemy, and after a change, in that instant, this power is too strong. The purple-clothed girl was also startled awake. As she looked at the violent tremors in the air, her forehead sunk. It seems to be the sound of refining. Who is refining at this time? Is it still a dark weapon? It's downstairs. However, she was unable to hear it with her listening skill. This was because Long Fei had used the Yang fire, so he could not hear any sound even from the thickness of a piece of paper. Boom, boom, boom. One force after another bombarded the area. The sky exploded. In the end, black streaks of lightning wreaked havoc in the sky. More and more people were shocked. It was as if there was a giant forging a metal in the sky. Every time the heavy hammer came down, countless bolts of black lightning would shoot out explosively. The 10th floor. A man around the age of 20 looked into the sky, locking the space between his eyebrows. Forging a weapon like that, I'm afraid. It's even more powerful than that. Who is it? Is that the kid from Devil Island? The sun rose. Long Fei looked at the pitch-black broadsword in front of him and heavily tapped the blade edge one last time. Boom! A loud sound echoed out. The sky split open, and black cracks appeared everywhere. Finally, completely disappeared. However, in the instant that it disappeared, a bolt of lightning poured down like a beam of light, a miracle descending. It came down from the roof of the god's hotel. All of his power converged into the blade in front of Long Fei. Power surged wildly. At this moment, the system sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for successfully refining it. Chapter 1983, Yama Edge. Chapter 1983, Yama Edge. The system beep rang out. Refining is a success. Huff. Long Fei exhaled a long breath. Refining a Sky Essence steel armor was much more difficult than refining a continuous bone pill. It's fortunate that I succeeded. Otherwise, I really would have lost half of my life. Long Fei was a little excited. He carefully opened the system to check. Amongst the space ring lay a large blade, black all over. At the same time, a lightning-like glow covered his entire body. It was very sharp. It was much stronger than some of the so-called light weapons in the game. Huff! Long Fei moved his hand and took out his big blade. Wong! The long blade fell into his hand. Boom! Immediately, the lightning that covered the blade completely wrapped Long Fei up. Long Fei did not feel the pain brought by the lightning, but instead the pleasure it brought. The feeling of being able to control lightning filled his entire body. Wow! With an indescribable excitement, Long Fei gently moved. Crash! A light sound rang out. In front of him, where the black knife had gone, was a field of dark crack. It could easily cut through space. As if it wasn't bound by the power of law, the blade's attack power, the existence of an explosive display of power. Isn't this too awesome? And then Long Fei was extremely excited as he checked the great black knife stats. Weapons, unnamed grade, half sovereign, temporarily, damage, 12 stars critical hit, plus 50% speed, plus 50% penetration, plus 50% luck, plus 15% description, passive skill lightning cut. What the F***CK? I immediately forged a half-sovereign level weapon, and, however, for now, the level of those who are at the half-sovereign level can still be upgraded. There were many grooves on the great black knife, so it was obvious that it could be synthesized. Once the great black knife's power was fully unleashed, it would undoubtedly be a super killing tool of the main artifact level. Critical chance, speed, penetration plus 50%, plus 15 luck, heaven-defying attributes. Long Fei was overwhelmed with shock. With one slash, I'll be meeting the King of Hell. Ding! Player, please name your weapon. Yes. Name. Long Fei thought for a while. What she called a single slash to meet the King of Hell with the help of thousands of people beheaded. Then it's called the Yama Edge. Ding! Weapon name confirmed. Yama Edge. A name immediately appeared on the big black knife. Long Fei kept the Yama Edge. He was anxious to know one thing. The moment the idea moved, it would enter the dragon coffin's cultivation world. Giant dragon. I just succeeded in refining it. Half main artifact. This weapon should be up to the standard, right? The standard practice method for refining was holy artifact. As long as Long Fei refined the holy artifact, he would receive the rewards and receive all of the refining techniques' proficiency-s. While they were talking, Long Fei took out the Yama edge. The colossal dragon opened its eyes slightly and glanced at them. Then it closed its eyes and coldly spat out 2 words, "Trash." Long Fei. He was speechless. The Yama edge had been dead for a few hours already, and Long Fei's mental energy was almost unable to hold on. Half-main artifact. The attributes were even more heaven-defying. However, the colossal dragon only glanced at it slightly before suddenly uttering the words, "Trash." Then, in other words, the holy artifact S that couldn't even reach the training space. Holy SH*T. I was still hoping to reach holy artifact level. All right. Since I have not reached that level yet, I will work hard. I believe that there will be a day when I will be able to refine a true holy artifact. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly, then left the training space. The colossal dragon stared angrily and excitedly churned. "Good boy, you are indeed not simple. Your unlimited potential is too terrifying. You can grasp the power of yin and yang flames in one night. It is worthy of being the crystallization of Long Fei and the Mu clan." Ha ha! Amazing, amazing, too amazing. He was as happy as a 3-year-old who has been given a candy. He couldn't stop laughing. The potential that Long Fei had unleashed was something that had shocked him time and time again. He also finally knew why the Long residents and Mu Clan S had placed all their hopes on him. Universal large world. There were countless powerhouses. In the face of such a huge crisis, he had put everything on the line. This move was extremely dangerous. Who would have thought that the hopes of the Long residents and the Mu clan would grow in this tiny 100,000 dimensional realm? The bet was too big. However, but the colossal dragon saw hope for its rise. A fierce batch. After a long time, the colossal dragon looked into the distance and muttered, "Kid, you still have a long way to go. This is just a small starting point for you. Your real battlefield is the universal world. As for the half-main artifact you refined just now, that is only because it is restricted by the laws of this world that it is defined as the existence of half a main artifact. In the universal world, it is not even comparable to a piece of scrap iron. Kid, good luck." If Long Fei heard these words, he would definitely vomit blood. The half-main artifact that was just refined out of nowhere could not even compare to a piece of scrap iron from Universal World. How powerful was this Universal World? He was stupefied. However, Long Fei was elated. The success of the Yama Edge also meant that he could release the profound secret thousands of people beheaded. One slash. Thousands died. Only then did it become fierce. Wong Clan. God's commercial alliances. Let's see how many of you can die. Long Fei grinned in excitement. He seemed to have seen a wave of experience come crashing in. He looked at the sky. Long Fei said, "Twin girls, come in and accompany me to sleep." The Fox twins walked into Long Fei's room and immediately took off his clothes. He had used up too much spiritual energy, and this kind of spiritual energy consumption could only be replenished by resting. If the 2 beautiful twins were sleeping with him, then his spiritual energy might recover a bit faster. Not long after, Long Fei began to snore. The twins looked at the man in front of them quietly, the man who made them happy. Long Fei had fallen asleep, but it was as if the entire city of martial arts had exploded. Have you found it? I've searched all over the city's smithing shops, yet I've also searched through all of the famous smithing masters in the hall. Not a single one of them has managed to forge a weapon. Then what happened? Who is it? Lord, not only us, Wang, Qi, and the people from the Zhao family were also searching for that master refiner. We were unable to find him. An elder quickly reported. God's rudder frowned. Who could it be? One of the blacksmiths said. Master, the last bolt of lightning struck on the roof of God's hotel. Could it be that you are God's hotel's guest? An hotel manager said, I've checked everyone. Are there no refiners? Who could it be? Could it be someone from Devil Island? Long Fei, God's rudder's eyes flashed with a bright light, and said, he can use alchemy, and can he also forge artifacts? Impossible. Alchemy users are basically unable to refine artifacts. No one has a physique that can refine even alchemy. There are extremely few of these people. Maybe it's him. The space between God's rudder's brows tightened as he muttered, if it's really him, then what's even more important is that he should die. Long Fei said, only after you have eaten your fill will you have the strength to work. Go get food. What's the price? Since you already owe 25 million, are you still afraid of spending the money for your meal? The waiter sighed heavily and walked out of the room. Not long later, a rich lunch appeared in Long Fei's room. Long Fei and the rest started to eat. Other than Long Fei, the twins and the waiter were completely tasteless. He slept until noon, then ordered a huge meal to eat. Does he have a crafting furnace in his room, or does it have a special smell? A special smell? I don't smell anything. God's rudder thought. It shouldn't be him. He is just a person with a bit of power from Devil Island. He has never seen anyone from the outside world and knows how to live a life of luxury. Kid, eat as much as you want. This is your head cutting rice. Ha ha. He no longer cared about who was a master refiner. What was important was how he could deal with Long Fei. Then, in the evening, there was a gorgeous auction. Night King Valley. The competition between the two great powers in Legend Palace must definitely be very exciting to compete with. Adding on the Marshall Stage competition that was going to be held tomorrow, this time, it would definitely cause a huge commotion and raise the fame of the gods' commercial alliances up once again. Thinking about these gods' rudder-s, he couldn't help but smile. Ha ha! Everything is under control. At this time, an elder said, Sir, the Chun clan has arrived at the underground boxing arena. Also, the Luby with 101 victories is also ready. All right, God's rudder clapped his hands and said excitedly, Long Fei, this is just the beginning. Enjoy it slowly. Ha ha. He ate and drank to his heart's content. Long Fei couldn't describe his comfort and said, Time to earn money. Just as Long Fei was about to walk out of the room, the purple-clothed girl coincidentally stood at his door and said, I'll pay back the money you owe me. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, You really want to take care of me. However, I prefer to take care of women rather than being taken care of. I will pay for the money I owe. The purple-clothed girl said, The people you have to face today are different. They won't win so easily like yesterday. Believe me, don't go, okay? There was a hint of pleading in his voice. Seeing the expression in her eyes, Long Fei almost nodded in agreement, but in the end, he still shook his head and said, There are some things that I must do. You are a piece of wood. The purple-clothed girl stomped her feet in anger and left in a hurry. The twins said slightly, Sir, she seems to be angry. Long Fei smiled. He did not say a word and walked out with big strides. As a man, there were some things that had to be done. The gods' commercial alliances wanted to deal with him. The Wang family was going to deal with him. The people of Legend Palace also wanted to deal with him. They couldn't just avoid him just because they wanted to deal with him. It wasn't Long Fei's style to dodge. What he liked was war. Then again, the stronger the opponent, the stronger the reward. Long Fei would never miss this. And then If he dodged, what about the twins? What about Wong Tai? He wouldn't be able to dodge, and the gods' commercial alliances would still think of other ways to deal with him. Escape is not the answer. The only way to solve the problem was to smash the problem to smithereens with his fists. The unparalleled war. The underground boxing arena was already packed with people. The entrance tickets to the competition all amounted to 100 divine stones, while the room cost 100,000 divine stones. Luby will also be appearing today. There's also the people who broke the record of 19 consecutive victories yesterday, plus that old undying freak from the Chen family. Wow, this is simply an unparalleled war. I'm not betting. We've all won. Ha ha ha. Who do you think will win? Does that even need to be said? It must be the Luby, the winner of the 101th match. Do you think that it's just a rumor? Luby is indeed strong, but he's definitely not as strong as Old Monster of Chen's family. He's a monster that won't die no matter how he gets hit. What about that number 1414? TCH, 1414, die. Compared to them, he's just a piece of trash. Just watch and see. 1414 will definitely not escape death. Stop arguing. They've entered the arena. In a black tunnel, a man over the age of 100 walked out. He had a ferocious sneer on his face. Old Monster of Chen's family. Here they come. Chapter 1985. The End of Equipment. Instant Killer. Chapter 1985. The End of Equipment. Instant Killer. Old freak, old freak, old freak. It was like a fan seeing a celebrity as it howled crazily. The entire arena was shaken. Old Monster of Chen's family lived for a full 200 years. His hands were hooked, sinister, and malevolent. A terrifying monster like aura emanated from his entire body. He had once entered the underground boxing arena and won 100 consecutive rounds at lightning speed. His reputation was widespread. This was how the Old Monster of Chen's family got its name. It was now 100 years from now. His body hadn't declined in 100 years. His cultivation was higher, his strength was stronger, and his killing techniques were incomparably sharp. Powerhouse. He didn't need to rely on anything else to know. He could tell with just a glance. Nether Slave slightly said, "Your cultivation is very strong." The purple-clothed girl asked, "Uncle Yu, between him and Long Fei, who has the highest chance of winning?" Nether Slave said, "Him." Without hesitation, Nether Slave replied, "A accumulation of 200 years. Even if his aptitude isn't that great, it shouldn't be bad. Moreover, he's a genius like the evildoers of the Chun family. This time, if we go on stage again, I'm afraid that we will break this underground boxing ring. Long Fei is not his opponent, unless there's a miracle." The purple-clothed girl tightened her hand and had an angry expression. She blamed Long Fei for not stopping his words. But in his heart, he couldn't help but start to worry for Long Fei. The Nether Slave continued to speak. Old Monster of Chen's family is not only about cultivation, but more importantly, his physical body is close to death. The body hidden under his robes is his strongest existence. Zhang Xian narrowed his eyes. Nether Slave's eyes flashed with a bright light. Undefeatable diamond. What a powerful body. He should be cultivating in a nearly masochistic manner, allowing his body to reach a state of complete immortality. He's different from the Wang family's poison corpse. This kind of immortality conceals a huge amount of explosiveness within his body. This battle, I'm afraid Long Fei is going to lose. The purple-clothed girl's forehead tightened again. "Uncle Nether, can you help?" Not waiting for him to finish, the purple-clothed girl's expression turned cold as she suddenly looked towards a direction. A man around the age of 20 stared at her with a faint smile on his face. Nether Slave's expression also tightened as he stood firmly beside the purple-clothed girl, as if he was about to face a great enemy. The youth lightly smiled before disappearing. Nether Slave's heart relaxed. His back was covered in cold sweat, and he said, "Miss, this place is too dangerous. I cannot leave you." Just a glance from that brat, just now, was enough to give him a powerful shock. It was a peak powerhouse. If he wanted to help Long Fei, he might not be able to. The moment he left, the purple-clothed girl would be in danger. To Nether Slave, even if there were 10,000 Long Fei-s, they would still not be able to match up to the purple-clothed girl's life. It was also at this time there was another passageway. Long Fei and the twins walked out. "He's here. 1414 is here. Die, 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 die." Shouts rang out one after another. But the word die made Long Fei feel a little awkward. "He's really going to die." Long Fei laughed, and with a glance, he saw a man who looked to be over 100 years old was staring at him. His eyes were sinister and filled with threat. Clang, clang. The bell for the challenge rang. The entire underground boxing arena immediately quieted down. The judge walked out and said, "Today's first match will be between Old Monster of Chen's family number 1414 and Old Monster of Chen's family. And the odds will be 1-1. Betting on time for 10 minutes. The competition starts in 10 minutes. As soon as he finished, suddenly, some of the people in the boxing ring rushed to the window, afraid that they would miss it. "I bet 10,000 divine stones on that old freak. I bet 20,000 old monsters. Old monster won." Almost most people bet on the old monster. Old Monster of Chen's family walked to Long Fei's side. Licking his lips, he laughed sinisterly. "You will die." "Ha ha." Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Are you trying to act cool in front of me?" The old monster said, "You will really die." Long Fei chuckled and did not say a word. That was because the best way to respond to someone acting tough was to ruthlessly trample over him, causing his ass to be ruined and his chrysanthemum to burst. Of course, in the arena, because Long Fei still wanted to bet. The twins replied, "Elder, according to your order, we will throw everything down." However, Master, Old Monster of Chen's family has no weakness, especially when his body is in an indestructible state. So, do you really want to fight him? Long Fei also felt it. The aura of Old Monster of Chen's family was completely different from that of ordinary powerhouse. However, right now, Long Fei couldn't care about all that. He had to fight, because someone was acting cool in front of him. He could not bear to see such a person. Acting cool? Then let's see how you act. Master, Old Monster of Chen's family is so much stronger than 100 years ago. Just you watch. That kid will be tortured to death. After we take care of this brat, the gods' commercial alliances will be considered a meritorious service to the main temple, and the influence of our gods' commercial alliances will rise to the highest level. Ha ha ha. Brat, you are a criminal in main temple. If you don't die, who will? God's Rudder stood in a luxurious private room and looked down at Long Fei, a smile on his face, as if he had already seen himself being promoted to the gods' commercial alliances' vice alliance master. Ha ha ha. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. In another place, within the damp secret room, Li Yuanba still smashed his fists against the thick steel armor and carried the 10,000 gene-thick sarcophagus on his back. His fists continued to move even faster. Bang, bang, bang. 10 minutes passed quickly. Opening the Boundaries cage, he impatiently walked inside, then hooked his fingers at Long Fei and sinisterly laughed. "Brat, quickly come in and accept your death. Hurry up. If I kill you, I'll be the trash who won 101 times." He couldn't wait. After entering the Boundaries cage, he looked even more ferocious and excited. as if he was a madman. Long Fei slowly walked into the boundary and muttered, "You like to act tough, right? Then let's see how long you can keep pretending. A physical body in an undying state. 200 years, old monster." Long Fei also laughed sinisterly and said, "Then I'll use you to sacrifice my Yama edge." Buzz. Buzz. The two doors to the boundaries cage closed. Clang. Let the duel begin. With that, the old monster of Chen's family disappeared in an instant. The pair of hooks in both of his hands were like a black and white unpredictable hook as they hooked towards Long Fei. "Good job." Long Fei's eyes shook and his right hand clenched tightly. Buzz. The Yama edge descended, and in that instant, Long Fei's entire body was covered with lightning. Powerful energy surged forth. Long Fei's blade slashed down. One slash. Lightning cut. Without holding back in the slightest, Long Fei slashed down with his blade. Boom. A loud sound echoed out. Old monster of Chen's family's body suddenly froze in place. His eyes widened as he remained motionless, as if time itself had stopped. In the center of his forehead, there was a faint trace of blood. Half a second, his body was split into two. Instant kill. Chapter 1986. Acting cool? Please continue. Chapter 1986. Acting cool? Please continue. Yama edge, lightning cut. One slash to the west. This speed, this power. It was more than just blowing up his watch. It was simply heaven-defying. The weapon forged by the god steel was in a complete mess. The power of the half-main artifact was simply too strong. The entire audience was surprised. He couldn't make a sound at all. Even Long Fei himself was shocked by the Yama edge's damage. He was like a cola bubbling inside, one at a time, slowly converging and finally bursting with power. Damn! F***CK. Isn't that too fierce? Can you not be so awesome? Or could it be that old monster of Chen's family is simply a radish? Long Fei's heart was overwhelmed with shock, looking at the Yama edge in his hand. He had really used one blade attack. The king of hell was asking for his life. And then Long Fei looked at old monster of Chen's family's body that was split into two and sneered. Acting tough? Please continue. An indestructible body, monsters that were famous 100 years ago. No matter how amazing he would never be able to fend off Long Fei's blade. Slowly, the surrounding people reacted. Each one of their expressions was as if they were swallowing a fly. However, they could not spit it out. Their expressions were twisting as their eyes revealed a look of doubt. This. How can he just die like that? Oh, my God, are my eyes blurring? That's impossible. I lost again. I lost 20 matches in a row. A voice filled with grievances rang out, followed by a sensation. Compared to these gamblers, Powerhouse, who was in the midst of shouting, seemed to be deep in thought. The faces of the people from the Chun family turned green. They looked extremely ugly, staring at Long Fei as though they wanted to eat him alive. In just a few hundred years, the Chun family produced an abnormal monster, but now, dead. The members of the Chun clan all felt hatred in their hearts. The expressions of the Wang clan's elders were also extremely unsightly. The stronger Long Fei was, the more pressure they felt in their hearts. The purple-robed poison corpse had been subdued by Long Fei, which was a slap to the face of the Wang family. However, the Wang family did not admit defeat. But now, old monster of Chen's family's death was like a bucket of cold water being poured over their heads. Would the strongest poison corpse be Long Fei's opponent? They began to feel uncertain. As for the side of the gods' commercial alliances, it was even more deathly silent. The entire room was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard, and not even a single sound could be heard. Compared to yesterday, Long Fei seemed to have become a completely different person. His power was completely different. Furthermore, what's with the big black knife in his hands? He didn't understand at all. God's rudder could not help but tremble secretly. He started to doubt his own decisions. Was it really good to harm Long Fei? Lord, don't be anxious. We still have another card. 101 consecutive victories has not come out yet. He can definitely defeat Long Fei. I have always been paying attention to this person. His strength is definitely far stronger than Long Fei's. 100 million points in fighting strength is enough to crush Long Fei. I also know about this fierce person. He will definitely be able to defeat Long Fei. They were 100% confident in Li Yuanba. This was also the reason why they let old monster of Chen's family fight first. Because Li Yuanba is stronger than the old monster of Chen's family. God's rudder's heart sank and said, I hope so. Master, don't worry. According to what I know, that Luby has only used one move to win 101 matches. He still has an incomparable amount of power that he has yet to unleash, so defeating Long Fei shouldn't be a problem. Li Yuanba was their only hope now. If even Li Yuanba was unable to defeat him, then no expert in the gods' commercial alliances' division would be able to defeat Long Fei. At this time, an elder entered the room and said, My lord, in the previous battle, we earned a total of 86 million divine stones. Everyone was shocked. This was unprecedented. Although we lost, we still won. Wow, this is the first time such a high stake has been placed. I've struck it rich. It was rare for someone to place such a huge bet. Usually, the bet would be around 30 million renminbi. However, no one knew God's rudder threw 50 million divine stones. Furthermore, the money was not his, but God's commercial alliances' money. He thought that old monster of Chen's family would be able to defeat Long Fei. However, he never thought that he would lose so miserably. His heart was bleeding and trembling. 50 million divine stones was not a small sum. Even if he gave God's commercial alliances a lifetime of work, he still wouldn't be able to earn that much money. His hand trembled slightly, swallowed his saliva, and said, How much has Long Fei won so far? That elder said, About 30 million. Another elder said, Elder, the money is enough to pay us back. One of the elders smiled. That may not be so. There is still another battle. If he loses, he will lose nothing. By then, the god's rudder trembled as he mumbled, Right, there is still one more match. There is still a chance to turn the tables and come back. Where is the Luby that you are talking about? Where is he? One of the elders said, Master, I have already sent people to call him. He will appear immediately. At that time you can just watch and see. Long Fei will definitely be beaten until he is crawling all over the ground. He was filled with confidence in Li Yuanba. The purple-clothed girl looked at Long Fei. There was no change in her expression, but her heart was as though a raging sea was churning. Looking at the lightning great black knife in Long Fei's hands, she was even more shocked. It must be him. It must be him. The center of Nether Slave's brows was also locked tight. He looked at Long Fei and said, Breaking through your limits time and time again. Just how deep are your limits? And then Nether Slave said, Miss, he also knows. I'm worried. The purple-clothed girl knew what the Nether Slave was saying and said immediately, No matter what price he has to pay, I cannot let the people of the Legend Palace destroy him. Nether Slave's eyes moved. He paused for half a second and said, This old servant knows. I'll go prepare. However, young mistress, there's another round of sparring. I'm worried that. The purple-clothed girl said, Are you talking about that fierce person who won 101 consecutive victories. Every single battle is settled with a single punch. Nether Slave said, "Yes, I have seen him before, his strength." He wanted to say that he was stronger than Long Fei, but Old Monster of Chen's family was also stronger, so he stopped after a single slash. The purple dress girl said, "I need to go down and try to persuade a big blockhead like him." Long Fei was still in deep shock. At the same time, he was also waiting for the system beep to ring. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Old Monster of Chen's family, for obtaining 5 million experience, 500,000 holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the 20th win in a row. You have received a special reward. Chapter 1987, Final War. Chapter 1987, Final War. The special reward is here. Long Fei's heart tightened, as though his heart was going to stop beating. Long Fei couldn't help but become excited every time he faced such a situation. Although Old Monster of Chen's family was instantly killed, he was a very strong opponent. The system reward should not be too bad. Ding! Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining a special reward, a reward item. The power of armor piercing. Huh. Long Fei was startled. A power? Damn. System, you tricked me again. He felt a little depressed. 20 consecutive victories should reward him with some awesome rewards, but this was some sort of armor-piercing power. Item: Armor Break Power Stats Description. After fusing, one can gain 100% of the Breaking Defense God Force for 3 minutes. Each attack strength can be completely unleashed. Tip: Uniqueness 1 time. Breaking armor in 3 minutes, 100% real damage. Long Fei secretly shivered when he saw the system's description. Damn, that means I can deal as much damage as I want. That's awesome. This power, combined with the power of critical strikes, combined with the Yama Edge's critical strikes, damage, wow. Long Fei looked up to the sky. How much damage can this damn move do? He was going to explode. Awesome. Long Fei was excited. There were too many good things to be afraid of. Long Fei walked out of the Boundaries cage, and the entire audience cheered. Number 1414, number 1414, number 1414. The twins walked over and obediently kissed Long Fei on the cheek. Master, you're so awesome. Ha ha ha. This feels great. It was also at this time that the purple-clothed girl pulled Long Fei's hand once again. This time, she didn't hold on to Long Fei, but held on to him directly and said, "Come with me right now." Long Fei was startled and asked, "What now?" The purple-clothed girl said, "I'm telling you to come with me now. You can't fight anymore." The next battle was against the man who had won 101 victories. To be honest, Long Fei was looking forward to this battle. He wanted to know what kind of strong man could win 101 battles in a row. Every single battle on the underground boxing ring was extremely difficult. 100 rounds of victory was not something an ordinary person could achieve. From the moment he entered the underground boxing arena, he had known about this legend. He wanted to challenge the myth, and to break the myth. Without waiting for Long Fei to speak, 2 elders from the gods' commercial alliances appeared and blocked the path of the purple-clothed girl. "Young Valley Master, he still cannot leave." Long Fei said, "Take a look, he said I can't leave yet." The purple-clothed girl raised her eyes, and a sharp gaze flashed in her eyes. The 2 elders immediately paled, and their bodies began to tremble uncontrollably. The purple-clothed girl said, "Do you think you can stop me?" The 2 elders were speechless. Their bodies were covered in cold sweat, and they couldn't even utter a single word after being suppressed by the purple-clothed girl's aura. It was extremely uncomfortable. Long Fei was secretly surprised. This girl is a little crazy. At this moment, a youth in his early 20s appeared out of thin air, lightly smiled, and said, "Young Valley Master, he still has a match to finish. He can't leave yet." A calm tone. His appearance was also ordinary and unremarkable. The aura on his body was also very ordinary, but he actually made the purple-clothed girl feel as though she was facing a great enemy. Long Fei did not sense anything from looking at the youth, but his intuition told him that this person was definitely not simple. The purple-clothed girl said in a low voice, "You want to stop me?" The youth lightly laughed and said, "You are Night King Valley's young Valley Master. Who would dare to stop you, but I dare to stop him." He raised his eyes and stared straight at Long Fei. Long Fei's body suddenly sank. The feeling of being stared at was as if his entire body was being bound by some kind of power, as if his body was being immobilized, unwell. It was hard to say, but it was hard. The purple-clothed girl said, "He's mine. If you stop him, that's the same as stopping me." The youth lightly smiled and said, "Young master, you have not even known him for 3 days, right? He doesn't even know your name. How did he become your man?" The purple-clothed girl's forehead tightened. Long Fei stepped forward and directly held onto the purple-clothed girl's arm, pretending to be dubious. Leaning on the purple-clothed girl's shoulder, he gently breathed in the girl's scent and silently thought in his heart, "It's so fragrant." A faint fragrance of orchids. This was a type of body fragrance that came from a young girl. Long Fei said, "I am one of her people." Although the purple-clothed girl was a little disgusted, at this time she could only let Long Fei take advantage of the situation and said to the teenager, "You saw it? He's my man. Why? Do you still want to stop me?" The youth smiled and said, "Stop him. Unless." The purple-clothed girl said, "Unless what?" The youth said, "Unless he can hand over the black blade, I can let you go. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave the underground boxing arena. I know you're the one refining this morning. I think highly of you. As my little brother, no one in the entire primordial divine battle dimension can touch you." The teenager stared straight at Long Fei. Being able to refine gods still showed just how powerful Long Fei was. If it could be used by him, it would definitely be able to help him take another step forward in the Legend Palace. Become your little brother? Long Fei was a little unhappy after hearing this. The youth said, "This is your honor and your only chance." Long Fei sneered. "How about this? You are my little brother, responsible for pouring the toilet and washing clothes for me every day. I also guarantee that besides me, no one else can touch you at all." Making him a lackey? Damn it! The youth wasn't angry. He faintly smiled and looked at the purple-clothed girl, saying, "This is your only chance." The purple-clothed girl frowned and pulled Long Fei towards the side of Boundary's cage. Long Fei did not understand. "I'm afraid of him." The youth looked at the purple-clothed girl as she walked back. He lightly smiled, then disappeared without a trace. The purple-clothed girl frowned and said, "You don't even know how strong he is." How strong? Long Fei thought. Is he stronger than the Destiny God? Making him a lackey? Are there any more laws? The purple-clothed girl said, "There's still one more match." "Are you confident?" Long Fei replied, "I don't know." This was the truth. Before he met his opponent again, Long Fei would never say that he was absolutely confident. The purple-clothed girl's eyes darkened, and she muttered, "He is a fierce person from the 101th match, and he only used a single punch. 100 million points of fighting strength is comparable to the middle god powerhouse. Can you beat him?" He was worried for Long Fei. However, with the young man from Legend Palace guarding them, they would not be able to leave. The only way now was to have another fight. Clang! The challenge bell rang. In the damp secret room, The door opened, and Li Yuanba walked out. Chapter 1988 Meeting. Chapter 1988 Meeting. Last battle. Luby, Luby, Luby. Luby, Luby. Boom, boom, boom. The charisma of 101 victories was overwhelming. It was completely not something that Long Fei could compare to after 20 consecutive victories. The surrounding people were all excited, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Luby, Luby, Luby. All of them were shouting this name. Long Fei was suspicious. What kind of opponent is he exactly? Can cause such a huge sensation? Old Monster of Chen's family also won 100 matches consecutively, but compared to Luby, he was much weaker. I'm so looking forward to it. Long Fei was looking forward to it. He only used one punch in all of the matches, making him look like an innocent and foolish farmer. However, the moment he entered the boundary prison, he would look like a ferocious beast with 100% of his effort without any blind spots or weakness. His fighting strength would be close to 100 million points. Lord, you have to be careful, Long Fei said. Don't worry, I will win. It will be the same as before. Bet on me winning. All the money I have bet. The twins nodded and said, We know. They were worried for Long Fei and also believed in him. Not far away, the purple-clothed girl looked at Long Fei, who had walked into the boundaries cage, and secretly furrowed her brows. Nether Slave returned behind her and said softly, Miss, everything is ready. Not waiting for him to finish. The purple-clothed girl's expression tensed up. Nether Slave's eyes flashed with a bright light. His eyes turned sinister, and the chi around his body swelled up, forming stripes of godly power that could be seen with the naked eye. The firepower was only mediocre. The youth quietly landed beside the purple-clothed girl. He didn't care in the slightest about the aura exploding from Nether Slave's body, and said with a smile, Young Valley Master, who do you think will win? The purple-clothed girl said, Long Fei. The youth said, Let's have a bet. The purple-clothed girl said, What do you want to bet? The youth looked at the purple-clothed girl from head to toe and said, I'm betting on you. How is your body? The purple-clothed girl's forehead tightened. Nether Slave's aura was almost uncontrollable as he pounced towards the youth. The youth laughed and said, I was just joking with you. Don't be so serious. If I win, hand it over. If I lose, I'll pretend I didn't show up here. What do you think? The purple-clothed girl's eyes narrowed. After hesitating for a moment, she said, All right. The youth laughed and said, You keep your word. The purple-dressed girl said, Do you think my Night King Valley is like the people from your legend palace? The youth said, I believe in young Valley Master's character. Then he disappeared. Then Nether Slave walked over and said, Miss, how are you going to bet with him? This match. He did not continue. The people of Legend Palace were all absolute geniuses. The young man in front of him looked ordinary, but his cultivation was actually at the middle god realm. The purple-clothed girl said, I know Long Fei might lose. Nether Slave said, It's not that we might lose, but that we will definitely lose. The purple-clothed girl said, That's why I told you to prepare. Nether Slave was shocked and said, You want to stealing people? The purple-clothed girl did not say anything. She simply looked at Long Fei in the boundaries cage and said, He cannot die. No matter what price he has to pay, I want him alive. Nether Slave remained silent. In God's Commercial Alliances' private room. Master, we just received news that Lord Legend Palace and that purple-clothed girl from Night King Valley are gambling, and that Lord Legend Palace is betting on Luby's victory. Ha ha ha. In that case, the Luby will win for sure. But that's right. The Powerhouse and Legend Palace are all absolute geniuses the strongest geniuses of the primordial divine battle dimension. They definitely wouldn't misjudge us. We're definitely going to win. God's rudder was secretly happy. And then, his secret celebrity bet. This time I'm going to win everything back. 100 million divine stones. This was his greatest limit. He believed in this judgment. Long Fei would definitely lose this battle. If he didn't lose, the branch chief, would die. 150 million in public funds. He couldn't afford this responsibility. However, he believed that he could definitely win. In the passageway, an elder led Li Yuanba forward. The elder said, "Our branch lord said that as long as you win, he will spare no effort to help you find someone. The ancient god battle does not have anyone that our gods' commercial alliances cannot find." Luby did not speak. He only gave a light, and in reply, the elder said, "Luby, this time, if you want to kill the other party, this person must not be alive." And another soft sound. "He's here. He's here." The Luby is here. Hearing the sound of footsteps in the passageway, the crowd became even more excited. "Luby! Luby! Luby!" The bet begins. This time, it was even more crazy. It was the same situation as the previous match, in a situation where almost everyone was betting on Luby's victory. More than 100 victories. This was a myth. Myth cannot be broken. Myth is eternal. Long Fei became tense. What kind of person are you exactly? Come on, wait a moment. Put this on. The elder passed the long robe in his hand to Li Yuanba and said, "This way the aura is even more ferocious. Just the aura alone will completely suppress him." Ha ha! Li Yuanba did not refuse. He took off his robes and put on a black cape, then covered the sarcophagus on his back. It had to be said that this aura was even more ferocious. Just his powerful physique was enough to cause a strong visual impact. "It's out." Li Yuanba walked out of the passage and slightly lowered his head. It was hard to see what he looked like. Long Fei also did not see it clearly. It really is a big guy. He could not help but call, "Li Yuanba. Crush him. Kill him. Luby, you have to win." The entire audience was incomparably excited. Clang! The moment the bell sounded, the entire room fell silent. The elder looked at Li Yuanba and took out a pellet from his chest pocket. "This is an ultra spirit pellet. If you are not a match for him, you can consume it." However, Li Yuanba looked at him in disdain and walked towards the boundaries cage. He lowered his head and walked into the boundaries cage. He suddenly took off the black cape on his body, revealing his strong muscles of a naked demigod, as well as the heavy sarcophagus on his back. The visual impact was incredibly powerful. At the same time, Li Yuanba raised his eyes and looked straight at Long Fei. At this time, Long Fei was stunned. "I'll wipe." Chapter 1989 Separation of Life and Death. Chapter 1989 Separation of Life and Death. He was stunned. Li Yuanba lifted his head and looked over. He was also stunned. He had a dazed look on his face. It was an expression of utter foolishness and foolishness. He had thought that he would meet with Long Fei, but he had never imagined that it would be this kind of situation. All of a sudden, he was excited. He couldn't say a word. Long Fei became excited, knowing that Li Yuanba had appeared, which also meant that the other 7 King Kongs would also appear after the end of their hellish cultivation. 8 King Kong. From God's martial continent to the ancient god battle. Following along the way, they were Long Fei's best brothers. 8 King Kong. Long Fei's blood started to boil. Neither of them spoke first, but looked at each other. Why hasn't he made his move yet? Didn't you see that number 1414 was already trembling? He's completely stunned. Ha ha ha. He must be scared. Luby is incomparably mighty. Who can be his match? Number 1414 will lose without a doubt. All sorts of discussions broke out in the surroundings. In the private room of God's commercial alliances, the God's rudder was a little anxious. He had bet 100 million on this battle. If he lost, then he would died without a burial ground. God's rudder said in a low voice, "Why aren't you fighting yet?" An elder said, "Sir, the experts are fighting. Before we attack, the idea will be the first to fight." The two of them are truly using the idea to fight. If the experts of the Legend Palace say that he will win, then he will definitely win. At this moment, Long Fei took a step forward. It moved. He moved. There's going to be a fight soon. Li Yuanba also took a step forward. The two of them walked forward at the same time. The purple-clothed girl grew nervous as she looked at the boundaries cage and thought to herself, a defensive boundary of the 8th step, can this kind of defensive boundaries defense penetrate? She was worried that Long Fei would lose. Thus, she had to prepare everything she had. She had to keep Long Fei's life. After these 2 days of contact, she firmly believed that Long Fei would definitely be able to refine the 9 steps yang reversion pill. It would definitely be able to save her father. Long Fei cannot die. The nether slave said softly, "Miss, even the middle god, as cannot break through the defensive array of the 8th step, I'm afraid our strength." The purple-clothed girl said, "Uncle Nether, you have to think of a way for me." Nether slave frowned and did not say anything else. They're going to fight. They're going to fight. Ha ha ha. Luby, grind him to pieces. Kill him. Cheers erupted from outside the stage. As long as Luby won the competition, he would be able to earn back everything he had lost before. Thinking of all these, he could not help but become happy, and he could not help but shout out, "Luby, kill him!" Just when everyone was feeling incomparably excited, Long Fei and Li Yuanba faced each other. And suddenly, the two of them were hugging each other. The entire audience was stunned. Everyone was dumbfounded. Instantly, there was no sound at all. Countless pairs of eyes stared fixedly at the two of them. No one was able to say anything. What was going on? What the hell? Why did they suddenly hug? A pair of gay people? His brain was unable to react in time, just as they were at a loss for words. A single word from Li Yuanba made them want to die even more. "Boss." Li Yuanba's eyes flickered. Crystal clear tears seemed to gush out. That kind of excitement, that was something that he hadn't seen for a long time, was clearly expressed. They were all placed in the words boss. Long Fei laughed. "We've finally found you." He was stupefied. He was completely stupefied. God's rudder's body trembled. His brain felt lack of oxygen, and his entire body felt like he was about to faint. He kept staggering and staggering, falling down onto the chair. "Boss, boss, Luby is Long Fei's little brother. How could it be like this? How could it be like this? What do you people cook? You didn't even manage to investigate this relationship?" God's rudder's voice trembled as he roared loudly. 100 million divine stones, plus what he had lost before. Even being an ox for 10 lifetimes wouldn't be enough. It was only a matter of time before such a huge amount was discovered. The tiller would definitely tear him into 1,000,000 pieces. Silence reigned in the room. No one dared to speak. No one knew what would happen. Who would have thought? The entire audience was in an uproar. The two of them are brothers? How could this be? He's the boss of the Luby? Holy sh*T. What's going on? What does this have to do with us? We want to watch a showdown. We want to see who wins and who loses. Fight, fight. You're right. I'm not here to see you two reminisce about the old days. Fight with me. What are the people of the gods' commercial alliances cooking? Why aren't you letting them fight? They were gamblers. They did not care what kind of relationship Long Fei had with Li Yuanba at all. What they cared about was whether they would win or lose. Yes, no matter what relationship they have, victory or defeat must be decided. God's rudder suddenly stood up and shouted, "Let them fight. The audience spending money to come in is not to watch them chat about the old, but to watch the battles and to see who wins or loses." Not waiting for an order, Li Yuanba's eyes swept across and said, "I've lost." He admitted defeat directly. What did 101 consecutive victories mean? What's the point of not losing? To find Long Fei. This was his wish for the primordial war. As for the rest, they were all bullshit. As Li Yuanba's voice fell, countless of fans of Luby began to curse. "Why don't you go and die? Scram. Admit defeat. Do you still have any face?" They were all angry and had high hopes for the Luby, but to directly admit defeat made them feel extremely unhappy. The most important thing was that they had lost money. It has frustrated the interests of many people. Many people were cursing. However, Li Yuanba looked like he did not hear anything and continued to smile foolishly. Long Fei also laughed excitedly. The head of the 8 King Kong once again returned to his position. This time, Long Fei saw an unusual strength in his body. "Boss, I really missed you." Li Yuanba was not good at expressing his feelings. Long Fei said, "I miss you guys too." Li Yuanba said, "This time, I will definitely not let any destiny god bully you. The 8 of us will definitely not be like how the tower question of God was back then, powerless." The current Li Yuanba was completely different from the previous Li Yuanba. Long Fei could tell. At this moment, God's rudder immediately jumped out from the private room and glared at Long Fei and Li Yuanba, who were inside, as he shouted, "If the 2 of you are going to fight to the death, none of you can even think of coming out." Buzz. The reinforcement of the boundary cage suddenly jolted. The door was tightly shut. "Who else threatened my boss? Who else threatened my boss?" Li Yuanba admitted defeat. The Skyfire Branch Lord's loss was a complete mess. There was no way for him to retreat. This duel cannot end here. Absolutely not. It had to be a matter of life and death. Even if Long Fei won in the end, he would kill his own brothers. As soon as God's rudder finished speaking, the entire audience was in an uproar. You're right. The battle of the cage isn't a matter of life and death. How can one win or lose? Life and death must be decided. I don't care how many years it's been since you 2 have seen each other, but once you've entered the cage, you have to beat me to death. Life and death will be decided. Life and death will be decided. Life and death will be decided. All of a sudden, everyone in the arena was shouting and shouting at the top of their lungs. The purple-haired girl relaxed her nerves. She thought that she would not be able to fight in this battle, so she did not lose. The teenager from Legend Palace had no reason to stop her. But now, the purple-clothed girl landed beside God's rudder and said coldly, "Luby has already admitted defeat. The competition is over." Humph! It ended just like that. "This is Tianhui Fistfield. I'm the Branch Lord. I have the final say in everything. I said it's not over yet." At this time, God's rudder no longer cared so much. If it was in the past, he definitely would not dare to speak to the young Valley Master of the night, King Valley, like this. But now that it was related to his life, he couldn't care about any more night, King Valley. In the private room, the clan elders of the gods' commercial alliances were all suspicious. They did not understand why the Branch Lord was doing this. If Long Fei wins this match, then we will have won close to 160 million divine stones in one match. This is an incomparably huge number. Even if we do not kill Long Fei, It would be a great achievement. Furthermore, there will be a competition tomorrow. There is no other way to get rid of Long Fei. Is there a need to be so hasty? Exactly. They had no idea how much God's rudder had placed on them. The purple-clothed girl frowned, staring at God's rudder. God's rudder felt a chill in his heart, and his body started to tremble uncontrollably. However, he still mustered his strength and said, "Listen to the surrounding voices. Everyone wants them to fight to the death." At this moment, the teenager from Legend Palace suddenly appeared, smiled faintly, and said, "I also want to see them fight to the death." God's rudder was ecstatic and immediately said, "You saw it. The life and death of the Boundaries cage must be decided. If he doesn't admit defeat, if he admits defeat, then he will commit suicide." "I let him commit suicide," God's rudder said with a savage aura. The purple-clothed girl frowned. Although she could crush God's rudder, she could not suppress the teenager from Legend Palace. The God's rudder looked at the Boundaries cage and shouted, "Long Fei, if you don't attack, then the two of you will die inside." Li Yuanba's eyes stared wide. The person who threatened Long Fei was displeased. His eyes stared straight at the God's rudder outside the boundary. "You dare threaten my big brother?" Its aura was like a ferocious beast rushing out of hell. He glared at Kong Kim. With a glare, God's rudder was so scared that he couldn't even stand properly. "Savage!" God's rudder's Adam's apple rolled. He continuously swallowed his saliva and said, "I'm already a threat. What can you do? If you don't, I will activate my devouring power, and when that time comes, everything in the Boundaries cage will be turned into nothingness. Now I want to ask you, do you want to fight or not?" "Mother Fasters Kerr." Li Yuanba was also furious. He stared at the Boundary cage and shouted, "A mere boundary dares to stop me? It's dangerous for my boss." "You're tired of living." 8 King Kong protected Long Fei with all his might. Li Yuanba's life was saved by Long Fei. His name was given to him by Long Fei. It was all because of Long Fei that he was able to achieve his current cultivation. Who dared to touch Long Fei? Whoever dared to threaten Long Fei, he would kill all 18 generations of his ancestors. He could bear the pain of cultivating in hell after not seeing her for so many years, because the stronger he was, the more he would share the burden for Long Fei. Threatening the boss. Crime shall be punished. God's rudder also had an expression of going for broke and said, "You big idiot. I think you guys are tired of living. Since you guys aren't fighting, then don't blame me for being rude. Someone come." His voice sank. At this moment, Li Yuanba shouted, "Don't be so troublesome." Buzz. Li Yuanba made a grasping motion in the air. A huge black axe was pulled out from the void. Giant spirit axe. That's not right. The giant spirit axe did not look like this in the Chaos realm. It evolved. It was pure black with the power of death, and the entire body of the godly axe was covered in black flames. His right arm moved. "Kacha, kacha, kacha, kacha." The sound of muscles expanding could be heard. The moment Li Yuanba grasped the giant axe, his entire body became like a dark diamond. His entire body suffused with the power of death. The aura of hell permeated the entire arena. Staring at the Boundary cage, he said naively, "How dare a boundary like this hurt my boss? Break for me." The black giant spirit axe moved and slashed down. A defensive formation of the 8th step. Even an ordinary middle god powerhouse would not be able to pierce through him. However, when Li Yuanba's axe hacked down, the Boundary cage released a cracking sound as if it was hacking into ice. It was like an eggshell cracking. Break. Boom. With an angry roar, the Boundaries cage shattered and turned into nothingness. In that instant, Li Yuanba's body moved. heavily landing in front of God's rudder. He stared at him with anger in his eyes and asked coldly, "You're the one that threatened my boss?" He was utterly domineering. With one strike of the axe, he destroyed the boundary. The aura on his body was even more explosive. Long Fei was extremely excited in his heart and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ha ha ha. He was more happy than anyone that his brother had become strong. Moreover, it was the King Kong, Li Yuanba. They truly were different on the journey to the infernal realm. It seemed as though his father had completely transformed them. The entire arena was shocked by Li Yuanba. All of their faces turned green. After being crushed by Li Yuanba's aura, he was unable to say a single word, as if he could die at any time. Li Yuanba stared at God's rudder. God's rudder trembled as his lips moved up and down like he was fighting. Trembling, he said, I also don't have, Not waiting for him to finish, Li Yuanba stared at him. "Do you take me for a fool?" As soon as he finished, boom, the fallen axe chopped down. Shwa, space itself shattered. The god's rudder directly chopped his axe into the air, not leaving a single strand of hair behind. Then, Li Yuanba swept his gaze across the entire audience and roared, "Who else dares to threaten my boss?" Chapter 1991 Prophecy. Chapter 1991 Prophecy. Who else dares to threaten my boss? The tough bull belt exploded. What a mess. Li Yuanba was like an overlord. It completely crushed everything in its path, including the powerhouse in Legend Palace. It was insanity. It was insanity. No one in the audience dared to make a sound. The people from the gods' commercial alliances were also stunned, watching as their branch lord was struck into the void. They did not even dare to fart. Whoever went forward would die. Who dares to speak? The purple-clothed girl was also shocked in her heart. What background does this guy have? That's impossible. He looks like he hasn't seen Long Fei for a long time. He definitely isn't from the Devil Island. Where is he from then? He's only at the first level of lower god, but is able to unleash a power that's even more powerful than the middle god. It's too unbelievable. Who the hell are they? The young man from Legend Palace was also locked in between his eyebrows, feeling aghast. He didn't think too much about it. It was not appropriate to stay here for long. In just a moment, he had disappeared. Even if he could defeat Li Yuanba, he would still be injured. His life was much more precious than Li Yuanba's, and the reason why he came was not for Long Fei, but to the item at the auction. The appearance of the god's steel was just an interlude. Compared to that, the god's steel was not even worth mentioning. Li Yuanba retracted his gaze and muttered, "Looks like there's no one else." "Boss, do you have anyone to deal with? I'll settle this for you. You've been fighting here for more than a month now, and there's not a single person who can do it," Li Yuanba said naively. Only in front of Long Fei would he reveal his true self. Long Fei laughed. He was smiling like an idiot. Li Yuanba played with his bald head and said naively, "Boss, what are you laughing about?" Long Fei just kept on laughing and laughing. He was happy, very happy. He couldn't help but feel delighted. Long Fei shook his head and said, "No, why isn't there one?" "There's still one more from the Legend Palace." The purple-clothed girl turned her gaze and realized that the young man from Legend Palace had long disappeared. Nether Slave also shook his head slightly. Legend Palace could not be offended. Even if he had someone as fierce as Li Yuanba, he could not be offended, because he could not afford to offend him. Li Yuanba looked at the purple-clothed girl, then looked at Long Fei and asked, "Sister-in-law?" Without waiting for Long Fei to speak, Li Yuanba immediately said respectfully, "Greetings, eldest sister-in-law." The purple-clothed young girl's face flushed. She didn't know why. Hearing the two words eldest sister-in-law, he felt a bit elated and satisfied. Nether Slave coughed lightly. The purple-haired girl immediately returned to normal. "You're not my sister-in-law. Don't call me that." "Oh." Li Yuanba laughed foolishly and said, "Not right now, but in the future, it will be the same. It's also the same if I call him in advance." Long Fei was still smiling. He walked down the stage and said, "It's been a long time since we last met. It looks like you have become more intelligent." Although Li Yuanba had been harmed by the goo once, he was always a fool. Long Fei said, "Return to my residence first. I still have a lot of things to learn." He seemed to know where the other 7 King Kongs were. I really want to know what happened to Oya. He really wanted to know whether the sky spirit was still so small. He wanted to know about Lin Yuxing, wanted to know about the big fatty, wanted to know about Uncle Black Knife, wanted to know about the dragon subduing Arhot. I want to know what happened to each of them. Is everyone here? Long Fei was pleasantly surprised. And Li Yuanba nodded heavily and said, "We will enter the primordial divine war dimension from different places and wait at different locations. Although I don't know where they are, I can feel them once I get close." The 8 King Kong's physique was very special. The 8 of them were like a community. The combined power of the 8 people could summon the incomparably strong power of heavenly tribulation. Of course, this was during the Chaos Realm's time, so it was unknown what kind of power they could summon now. "All right, it's good that you're all here." Long Fei was extremely excited. He was lacking people right now. It would definitely be difficult to find the entrance to Battleground, but what was even more difficult was finding a way to get through. With 8 King Kong, things would be much easier. Li Yuanba became more serious and said, "Boss, your father told me to tell you to be careful in everything that happens in the primordial divine war, that not only will you face Powerhouse from 100,000 planes, there might also be Powerhouse from other planes. He told you to keep there are fearless heart-s in the gods' martial continent." The fearless heart again. Long Fei's heart trembled and said, "Is the predicted calamity still here?" Li Yuanba's mouth tightened and nodded. "He's still here, and more importantly, it can't be reversed. It can't be changed. Even if your father constantly changes your life for you, but there's no way to dodge it." Long Fei asked, "Is father still well?" Li Yuanba said excitedly, "That's great. He's now the king of hell, the ruler of hell. By the way," Li Yuanba said softly, "Boss, I won't die even now, hee hee." Long Fei was startled. "Damn, you're abnormal." "Ha ha." Our 8 King Kong's journey of cultivation in the infernal realm is entirely dependent on Uncle's care, and he also activated our strength. Uncle said, "The 8 of us are 8 heaven pillar-s from the ancient world. How can the insignificant 100,000 planes stop our footsteps?" Li Yuanba laughed foolishly. "Although I don't know what ancient world is and what the 8 heaven pillar are, it sounds very awesome, right?" Ha ha. He had a silly look on his face. However, Long Fei's heart was greatly shaken, as though a great wave had flipped the heavens. Ancient world. The Dragon Manor and his mother's Clanmu clan were both families in the ancient world, but how powerful was the existence of the 8 heaven pillar in the ancient world? CKME. That's abnormal. I like it. Long Fei was excited. Miss, why don't you stop talking to them?" Nether Slave looked at the purple-clothed girl who was watching them from the window and said, "Hearing their conversation, we will definitely know the identity of that big-sized guy, and will also understand Long Fei's identity more." The purple-clothed girl knew this and said slightly, "It's very rude to eavesdrop on other people's conversation." Nether Slave was stunned. He muttered, "Why have I never heard you say that before?" The violet-clothed young girl's gaze turned. Nether Slave immediately lowered his head. Long Fei's room. The twins hurried into the room. Lord, this is bad. Li Yuanba immediately stood up and said respectfully, "Greetings, eldest sister-in-law." The twins' faces were bright red and looked incomparably shy. Long Fei asked, "What's wrong?" The twins said, "We lost all the money we bet." Long Fei frowned. "Didn't I win?" The twins said, "But they won't admit it. They think this is a competition with no effect. They will swallow all the bets." F***CK. "Boss, if you say anything, I'll knock him over." Li Yuanba was immediately enraged. Chapter 1992 Blood flows like rivers. Chapter 1992 Blood flows like rivers. 30 million divine stones had been swallowed. It would be a lie to say that he was not angry. Long Fei was very angry. He was rather annoyed, but he did not immediately go after the money. Just over 30 million. Money is just money. The world is so beautiful, yet I am so agitated. This is not good, not good, not good at all. Long Fei tried his best to suppress the flames in his heart, tears streaming down the twins' faces. They said, "They're too much of a bully." "It's fine, it's really fine. What does 30 million yuan count for? I will make them vomit 10 times, 100 times more." Long Fei smiled faintly. His smile was laced with killing intent. The waiter also walked in and said, "Sir, I heard that the God's Commercial Alliance's main rudder has sent people, and the sum of money for the casino has been confiscated was ordered by him." Also, Long Fei said, "Speak." The waiter said, "Master Wang Tai was taken." F***CK. Long Fei could endure 30 million being swallowed, brother being captured. We can't tolerate it anymore. In that moment, Long Fei rushed out and said furiously, "Your father will see how many lives this God's Commercial Alliances has." Li Yuanba immediately followed Long Fei and rushed out. The money was swallowed. However, brother, nothing must happen to you. This was Long Fei's bottom line. He would definitely not tolerate this. Miss, something seems to have happened downstairs." The nether slave said lightly. The purple-clothed girl's eyes trembled and immediately said, "Isn't God's Commercial Alliance's actions too excessive?" As she spoke, the violet-clothed young girl swiftly rushed downstairs. The nether slave wanted to stop her, but he did not. He hurriedly chased after her and said, "Young miss, it's almost time for the auction. That thing." Their purpose this time was for that thing. If they missed it, it wasn't a waste of time, but a person would die. The purple-clothed girl's brows furrowed, but she still walked out with large strides. Bam. 4th floor of God's Commercial Alliance's training hall. The door was immediately kicked away by Long Fei. It heavily smashed into the training hall. Next, all the people sitting cross-legged in the training hall stood up in unison. All of them wore the same set of clothes, similar to those worn by warriors from the island countries. Their eyes turned towards Long Fei in unison. Killing intent. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Seeing the clothes they were wearing, he became even more infuriated. Just as Long Fei finished speaking, a man shouted loudly, "Where did this trash come from? How dare he behave so atrociously in the training hall? Trash your ass." Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Long Fei's figure moved. He went up and slapped him, and that person fell on the ground. Bam! His head hit the ground. The amount of blood on top of his head was almost completely depleted. Instant kill. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing. The system sounded out. And also at that moment, all the warriors in the training hall surrounded Long Fei, forming a revolving array formation with all their power gathered together, as if chains were connecting them. The 80 warriors in the training hall gathered together. It formed a powerful force, like a snake coiled around its prey. Boss, Li Yuanba clenched his fists and shouted. Long Fei did not speak. Li Yuanba also did not step in. He understood Long Fei very well. Long Fei was currently very angry, his anger reaching the sky. He needed to vent it out. Behind the door, a man sneered, I knew he would come. I was about to die in the coiling snake formation. You can't deal with such a person alone. A few clan elders of the gods' commercial alliances felt a chill on their faces, and one of the clan elders said, Sir Envoy, Long Fei is not as simple as he seems. The coiling snake formation is strong, but you think the coiling snake formation can't kill him? The envoy glared. The elder immediately didn't dare to speak. My coiling snake formation has even been used by the people from the lower God's Peak realm before, not to mention that he is just a small trash at the first level of lower God. What the F***? The envoy's face was filled with disdain. The coiling snake formation was indeed formidable. Its power was linked to everything, just like a snake. Once it was wrapped around its prey, it would not let go until it was exhausted to its death. One person moving, pulling his entire body. One person's strength was equal to the strength of 80 people. Terrible. At this time, Long Fei's right hand moved. Wong! The Yama edge landed in his hand. Black lightning covered his entire body. Coiling snake formation? Dead serpent formation? Long Fei's eyes flashed with a bright light. Seeing the clothes worn by you people, you will all die. Very unhappy, picking up the Yama edge, he chopped down without hesitation. Boom! A warrior sword in his hand blocked it. At this moment, the strength of 80 people exploded from his body. Powerful strength exploded out like a violent explosion. Ha ha ha. Just watch. That piece of trash is dead for sure. Boom! With a loud sound, the katana broke the moment it came into contact with the Yama edge, and the warrior holding the blade slashed his sword, his body splitting into two halves. At the same time, the lightning on the Yama edge exploded outwards, crackling. All of the warriors in the coiled snake array were shrouded in black lightning. The entire formation was instantly destroyed. The warriors quickly retreated, like a drowning dog. At this time, Long Fei's speed was extremely fast, taking advantage of his sickness to take his life. Just you warriors, as many as come, I will kill. Bam! 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 One knife, one knife, one knife. They were all crying out as they screamed like the sky and the earth. The entire training hall was like hell on earth. Swallow my money? Touch my brother? Who gave you the courage of the gods' commercial alliances? Huh! Long Fei shouted loudly. Behind the door, the envoy's face was pale as he continuously retreated. Stop him! Stop him! How could my lord call him a rescue? Stop him! The faces of the elders turned cold as they continued to retreat. All of you hold on. You dare to kill people in God's commercial alliances' territory. I see that he has a few lives. All of you block him. I'll go call the Lord. The emissary staggered back, then quickly escaped. Bullshit. In a short 10 minutes, within the training hall, all the warriors had died. Moreover, every one of them had been decapitated, their deaths incomparably miserable. In this alternate world, if one saw these warriors in their robes, they would be a cripple if they didn't die. But who would be a cripple if they died? Get the hell out here. Boom. The aura on Long Fei's body exploded, forming a strong flow of energy that directly broke through the wall of a wooden door. And in the room, there were 5 shivering elders. Long Fei took a step forward, shouted out, and said, Even people from your god's commercial alliances dares to touch my brother? Long Fei, it's not us. We did not touch Wang Tai. He was taken away by the messenger sent by the headquarters. Long Fei, we have nothing to do with this. Long Fei, don't make such a big fuss. If you make a big fuss, it won't benefit anyone. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted and said, "It won't benefit anyone. If you don't hand over my brother, I will tear your God's commercial alliances apart." Chapter 1993 God Equipment 9 Reborn Spiritual Flowers. Chapter 1993 God Equipment 9 Reborn Spiritual Flowers, brothers, were as per the orders. No one can move. The killing intent that was emitted from Long Fei's body was like a ferocious beast, firmly crushing down onto the few of them. One of the elders said with difficulty, "He is not with us. He was taken away by the chief steward." "Where did you take it?" Long Fei asked. Auction. Long Fei's eyes turned sinister, and he said, "Auction?" He was puzzled. Why did he bring Wang Tai to the auction? An elder said, "This time's auction is for the Wang family. The Qi family, Chun family, and the people from the great clans of City of Martial Arts are here. Your brother is being brought to the auction to be sold to the Wang family." Long Fei's eyes flashed with anger. The fury on his body exploded once again. Another elder said, "Long Fei, when you came out, the twins that were serving you have probably been taken away as well. They will also be auctioned off." It was directed at you. At this point, they were willing to say everything they had in order to preserve their lives. Long Fei turned to look. Indeed, the twins didn't follow in time. Cluck, cluck, cluck. His joints exploded, and his anger soared to the heavens. The air in the room seemed as if it was about to explode. The 5 elders didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Their bodies could explode at any time. Unwell. It was extremely uncomfortable, unspeakably uncomfortable. All of them kneeled on the floor, not daring to say a single word. "To your father? All right. Very good, God's commercial alliances. You have already provoked me. If I don't flip you over, I will write the word dragon backwards." Long Fei shouted. He turned around and left. Right at this moment, the hearts of the elders relaxed slightly. The Yama edge in Long Fei's hand suddenly slashed. Boom! Blade Qi was as fast as lightning. With one slash, 5 people died. Not a single one remained. Li Yuanba became excited and asked, "Boss, what for?" "Kill them all." Long Fei coldly spat out these 2 words, to provoke his brother, and even touch his woman if he did not take revenge. Then he would not be called Long Fei. Li Yuanba rubbed his big bald head and laughed excitedly. "Understood." Just as Long Fei was about to leave the training hall, the purple-clothed girl rushed to the door. She ran a little anxiously and almost ran into Long Fei's embrace. Glancing at the death sworn in front of her, her brows tightened as she said, "Long Fei, you still can't touch God's commercial alliances." Long Fei was truly furious. Upon hearing this, he immediately said, "You want to stop me?" The purple-clothed girl said, "This auction is no small matter. If you destroy it, I'm afraid you will offend many people. This will be very disadvantageous to you." Offended many people? I have never been afraid of the main temple. Who do I need to be afraid of a mere primordial divine war dimension? Long Fei had never been afraid of offending people, but if the destiny god was able to overturn things, who would he be afraid of? The sovereign is here. Long Fei is not afraid. I know that you are not afraid, but can you consider others? Consider the people around you? There are countless powerhouses in the ancient god battle. You are not invincible, and your brother is not invincible either. If you were to disrupt the auction, I'm afraid you would not be able to leave the City of Martial Arts. Also, the purple-clothed girl looked at Long Fei and said, "Can I beg you Her eyes were pleading. Desire. She had come for that thing. She really, really needed that thing. Long Fei's gaze darkened. Suppressing his anger, he asked, "What do you want at the auction?" The violet-robed maiden immediately said, I have the treasure to save my father. I must acquire it, or else I will hate myself for the rest of my life. Can you help me? As long as you don't break into the auction, I'll definitely be able to get it. At this time, the nether slave also rushed over. He also walked forward and said, "Miss, you don't need to go beg people like this." The purple-clothed girl looked at Long Fei and said, "I really need that item." Long Fei asked again, "Just what is it that can make you do this?" Young Valley Master of the Night, King Valley, the once strongest assassination organization in the ancient holy battlefield, what kind of status did they have? Nether Slave shook his head slightly. The purple-clothed girl hesitated for a moment before replying, 9 reborn spiritual flowers. 9 reborn spiritual flowers. Long Fei was extremely unfamiliar with this name. He had never heard of it, but Li Yuanba, who was at the side, frowned, revealing a shocked expression. However, Li Yuanba did not say anything. The purple-clothed girl said, "I need it to save my father. I have to get it." Long Fei said, "I also want to save my brother." The purple-clothed girl immediately said, "Don't worry. As long as you can allow this auction to proceed successfully, I will take care of your brother and the 2 foxwomen s." Huff. Long Fei exhaled. "Since that's the case, then I'll leave it to you." If Wang Ting and the twins were really going to appear at the auction, it meant that they were safe, so there was no need to worry. However, Long Fei only agreed on the surface with the purple-robed girl. Seeing that Long Fei had agreed, the purple-clothed girl finally heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Let's go to the auction together." Long Fei said indifferently, "What? Are you afraid that I will cause trouble?" The purple-clothed girl said, "As long as I get that item, you can do whatever you want of me." Nether Slave said, "Lord Yong Master Long, please." Long Fei strode out with Li Yuanba following behind him. She asked him with a sound transmission, "Boss, are you not going to cause trouble?" "Don't move first. It has to be done, but not now." Long Fei smiled. He couldn't help but laugh in his heart. What they said is right. What they said is correct. No matter what kind of profit it is, alchemy or weapon crafting, the most profitable industry in this world should be robbing and auctioning. Great treasures, spirit treasures, divine stones, divine pills, everything. This is definitely a good opportunity to make a fortune. At this time, Li Yuanba, using the sound transmission, said, "Boss, 9 reborn spiritual flowers are not ordinary. This kind of spirit grass has experienced 9 rebirths, and every time it is different, it can bring someone back from the dead. It seems like this woman wants to bring someone back from the dead." Hearing Li Yuanba's words, Long Fei's heart trembled once again. Such an awesome spirit grass. Resurrection of the dead. This is extraordinary. Li Yuanba then continued, "This kind of spirit grass is rarely seen in 10,000 years. I'm worried." Long Fei asked, "What are you worried about?" Li Yuanba did not voice the worry in his heart and lightly said, "Nothing." Long Fei asked, "How do you know about this kind of spirit grass?" Li Yuanba not only knew about it, he was also very familiar with it. Li Yuanba said, "This is something that everyone in the infernal realm dreams of. It can reconstruct the soul's physical body and is the treasure of the infernal realm. A divine object, a true divine object." Long Fei suddenly stopped and turned to look at Li Yuanba and immediately blurted out, "Doesn't that allow my father to return to the human world?" Suddenly, the violet-robed maiden came to a halt. Nether Slave also stopped. Both of their eyes stared straight at Long Fei. Chapter 1994, Stimulating Auctions. Chapter 1994, Stimulating Auctions, because he was too excited. It was also because Long Fei really wanted his father to return to the world of the living. That was why he couldn't control his emotions. Seeing the expressions in the eyes of the purple-clothed girl and the nether slave, Long Fei felt a little awkward. The purple-clothed girl's gaze tensed up as she looked at Long Fei and asked, "Do you know the use of 9 reborn spiritual flowers?" Long Fei replied, "I don't know." The purple-clothed girl said, "You don't have to lie to me. If you know something, just say it." Long Fei still denied it. "I really don't know." The purple-clothed girl retracted her gaze. From the corner of her eyes, she was paying attention to the change in Long Fei's expression as she became wary of him. She had heard it clearly. To let his father return to the human world, that was the power of the 9 reborn spiritual flowers. However, in the ancient divine war plane, only the 9 reborn spiritual flowers could refine the 9 steps yang reversion pill, revive the dead, and let go of the control of fate. Nether Slave sent a sound transmission to him. "Miss, he definitely knows something." The purple-clothed girl replied, "I can tell," Nether Slave said. "If he knows the power of the 9 reborn spiritual flowers, what if he snatches it away and uses it to save his own people? What would happen to the old master?" The violet-robed girl was silent. She didn't know. Long Fei's alchemy technique was the most powerful one she had ever seen. If there was a pill refiner in this world that could concoct the 9 steps yang reversion pill, then that person would definitely be Long Fei. However, Long Fei knew the power of 9 reborn spiritual flowers. Would he take it for himself? All of a sudden, the purple-clothed girl hesitated. However, her worries were unnecessary. Li Yuanba said to Long Fei via sound transmission, "Uncle does not need to save. He's the king of hell. He's currently cultivating the laws of hell. When he completely grasps the laws of hell, he will reappear in the world. In addition, boss, 9 reborn spiritual flowers are very rare. If it appears, then the people from the main temple will definitely appear as well. Main temple will definitely not allow this kind of thing that is beyond our control to appear. If the people from the main temple did not appear, then this thing might very well be fake." Li Yuanba understood what 9 reborn spiritual flowers meant. Main temple. This was especially true for deities who controlled the fate of 100,000 planes. Once something like this appeared, he would immediately sense it and definitely not allow it to save anyone, because once the dead were revived, they would be out of the control of fate. This was something that the main temple would never allow to happen. Long Fei slightly nodded and said, "At that time, we will see. Since we cannot buy it, we will snatch it. And if we cannot, we will kill it." Li Yuanba laughed innocently. The purple-clothed girl had been using the heavenly listening technique the entire time, but she was unable to hear Long Fei and his sound transmission, causing her to feel anxious. "My lord, all 81 warriors of the Coiling Snake Formation have died." The emissary ran into the room, panting heavily. A middle-aged man suddenly stood up. His gaze darkened, and the corners of his eyes twitched a few times, exuding a cold, killing intent. "A puny Long Fei dares to be so arrogant? All right, let's see how many lives you have left today." Humph! The man had killing intent. The emissary laughed excitedly. "Sir, as long as we can eliminate Long Fei, the God's Mountain, the Godchild will bestow upon us the right to enter the battleground. As long as we can enter the battleground, our position will definitely rise greatly, and you will definitely become the alliance master of the gods' commercial alliances." Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! The two of them laughed. The auction was more important, but for him, Long Fei's life was even more important. God's commercial alliances' second floor. a huge banquet hall. This layer is a double deck. The first level was filled with 18 round tables. Each table had 10 people, with 6 special luxurious rooms on both sides of the table. This time the auction was not ordinary. Without a certain level of strength, he simply didn't have the qualifications to enter. Not long later, an elder of the gods' commercial alliances stepped onto the stage and said, "Masters, the auction is about to begin." I'll explain it again. Before then, when bidding, you can use divine stones, but you can also use spirit treasures of the same price. Soul treasures need to be appraised. I hope that all of you can buy the treasures that you wish for. Finished, the elder withdrew himself. At this time, 18 beautiful women walked out from the 18 tables and stood by their respective sides. They were all there to bid. 18 women, all of them peerless. Moreover, the clothes he was wearing were extremely sparse, making people unable to help themselves from swallowing their saliva. As for the woman in the room, the moment he pushed open the door, Long Fei was even more shocked. Not a single piece of clothing was worn. It was just that before she could even enter the room, she was sent away by the purple-clothed girl, but she still saw Long Fei. Long Fei asked curiously, where the hell did this god's commercial alliances get so many beautiful women? These women were all foxes. It wouldn't be wrong to say that they were fox spirits, as it would completely hook out a man's soul. The purple-clothed woman rolled her eyes at Long Fei. The god's commercial alliances is controlling the Sky Fox Mountain Range, that is the territory of the fox tribe, and they specially train all kinds of beauties to do a lot of things. You have to be careful. Perverts like you, who knows how many times you die in a year under their hands. Soft bed, killing place. Many people didn't even know how they died. Long Fei grinned and said, "I'm a pervert, and I didn't eat your tofu. Touching but a pervert, wouldn't treat you like a pervert." The purple-dressed woman glared at Long Fei. At this moment, another slave walked into the room and said in a low voice, "Miss, I've asked around clearly. The young man from Legend Palace is right in front of us, and there are still a few other huge powers and a few people from the Merchant Union. I'm afraid the money we brought is—" The purple-clothed girl said, "I understand." Nether slave did not continue. The purple-clothed girl looked at the bracelet on her hand and gently bit her teeth. A few minutes later, presided elders walked onto the stage and smiled. In order to make the auction more interesting and exciting, we will first hold 2 special auctions today. First, Fox twins. Clap, clap. He clapped his hands, and the twins were dragged out from the side. Their cheeks were red and swollen, and their eyes were red. He was sure they had just been beaten. Although these twins aren't virgins, they have been specially trained. It can be said that they are proficient in all 108 styles and can even make you feel refreshed. The important thing is, the one they once served was Long Fei, who came out from the Devil Island. Auction 1 divine stone. Let the auction begin. Ha ha ha. Then whoever gets these twins, who wouldn't give that kid a green hat? I'll take it. 10,000 divine stones. Don't fight with me. I will bring that brat green hair. I will pay 20,000 divine stones. This was openly insulting Long Fei. Long Fei did not get angry, but Li Yuanba could not help but feel his joints popping up, and asked, "Do these people want to die? Thank you for your support." Chapter 1995. Chapter 1995. To Li Yuanba, the twins were his sister-in-law. How could they be auctioned off? Long Fei naturally could not tolerate it either. However, the purple-clothed girl walked to the window and said, 1 million. His words shocked everyone. Everyone in the hall looked at her in unison. If someone offered the highest price of 20,000, she would immediately bid 1 million. The entire audience was stunned. Long Fei was also slightly shocked. The purple-clothed girl said, "You want to redeem your body for them? It's better this way." Long Fei frowned. "They are not items. They should not be auctioned off." The purple-clothed girl said, "They are nothing to God's commercial alliances." Long Fei's heart sank. On the stage, the presided elders said lightly, "Is there a higher rank than 1,000,000? This is a fox race top quality twin, and is even more so someone who has served Long Fei before. Buying sex is not bad. At the very least, you should feel a sense of superiority over others, right?" He was constantly drawing on his hatred. He was also constantly insulting Long Fei. Li Yuanba stood at the window and looked out, then muttered, "I'll remember you." At this moment, an elder from the Wang family stood up and said, 1,500,000 divine stones. All right, someone has already offered 1,500,000. Are there any higher bids? If you want to toy with them, then do so now. Buy it back and play with it however you want. If you want to play with them, then play with them. Presided elders said excitedly. The old man from the Wang clan said lightly, "My big wolf dog just happens to be lacking a mate. Using a fox species to breed might not be bad. Ha ha ha. He 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 he." Long Fei suddenly stood up. The purple-clothed girl immediately said, 5,000,000. The entire audience was stunned again. The purple-haired girl said in a low voice, "You promised me that you wouldn't act carelessly." Nether Slave immediately stepped forward. "Miss, you cannot bid like this. The amount of money we have is not much. We should spend it on the blade." The purple-clothed girl didn't say anything and just looked at Long Fei. 5,000,000 going once. Is there anything higher? 5,000,000 twice. Who's higher? This is a man's chance. 5,000,000 going thrice. Pa! With a heavy blow, presided elders smashed down with his hammer. He raised his eyes towards the purple-clothed girl and said, "Congratulations to buyer number 2. Please pay up for the item." And then presided elders clapped again and said, "Then we will be even more powerful. God's commercial alliances has spent a lot of effort to catch a pure, wild beast. This monster has black bones on its back, and it has a strange strength. I heard that the stronger your cultivation, the longer your black bones will grow. Come, come, let us see what kind of monster it is." While they were talking, a cage was pushed out. One of the attendants lifted the black cloth covering the cage. Inside the iron cage, 8 chains pierced into Wang Tai's bones and tightly bound him. His entire body was covered in blood. The black bones on his back were broken again. Looking at the 8 chains stabbing into one's body made one suck in a cold breath of air in incomparable pain. Wang Tai, presided elders laughed out loud. "Did you see that? This is a monster. This kind of monster is definitely first class. At least it's better than a dog, right? The auction price is also a divine stone, so you can freely bid. Elder Wang, this is much more useful than your big wolf dog. How about it?" The Wang clan elder stood up and laughed out loud. "Not bad, not bad. You are indeed more useful than my big wolf dog. I offer 10,000 divine stones. Isn't he a monster abandoned by the Wang family? So that's all it looks like. What a monster. Look at the black bones on his back. No one has ever looked like this. Monster. What a monster." Everyone looked at Wang Tai, who was in the metal cage, and laughed. Monster, monster, monster. This word was like a deadly force that pierced Wang Tai's heart. He who was in the iron cage became more and more crazy, and he didn't dare to face it, although he had been in Devil Island for more than 10 years, and thought that he would dare to face them. When he saw the gazes of the Wang family and the strange gazes of the people from City of Martial Arts, his heart shrank, as if a door had suddenly closed. He still didn't dare to face it. Fear filled his heart. Listening to the mocking laughter and discussions around him, he couldn't help but become even more furious. I'm not a monster. I'm not a monster. I'm not. Ah. Rumble. 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 The 8 chains were stretched taut, as creaking sounds could be heard. Wang Tai's bones were constantly cracking. Fresh blood crazily surged out, and the black bones on his back were also crazily extending. Power surged. The iron cage seemed to be unable to bear it. However, Presided Elders's face was full of excitement as he said, Did you see that? Did you see that the monster is using its strength? Ha ha ha. F***CK. Suddenly, Long Fei took a step forward. The purple-clothed girl's gaze tightened. Crap. And then she did not care that much and immediately went up and said, 1,000,000 divine stones. The instant she finished speaking, Long Fei had already landed on the auction stage and stood beside the iron cage. Looking at Wang Tai, who was constantly struggling with his hair in the cage, the aura on his body was like flames. Anger. Boom. As the Yama edge fell, it chopped down with its blade. The iron cage shattered, and the 8 chains broke at the same time. Wang Tai's body trembled nonstop. The bones in his back continued to grow. It was painful. His eyes were filled with pain, and his lips trembled as he looked at Long Fei. Boss, kill me! Kill me! Quick, kill me! Boss, quickly kill me! Presided Elders did not intervene. With a playful expression, he said, 1,000,000. Is there a higher bid? The price is 18 generations of your ancestors. Long Fei's eyes opened wide. The spirit chi around his body burst out like a dragon's roar, heavily smashing forward. Boom. That Presided Elders was instantly crushed to the point where he was sprawled on the ground, unable to move. Long Fei supported Wang Tai up with one hand and said, Don't worry. Everyone will pay the price because they mocked you today. I swear to the heavens. Long Fei supported the trembling Wang Tai down the stage. The entire audience was surprised. At the same time, the hearts of many were trembling. In a private room. Ha ha ha. Fun, this is so fun. Can't you bear it? The envoy laughed. Your Excellency, your 2 moves are quite powerful. Look at how infuriated that kid is. That's great. This is just an appetizer. It's just that he doesn't feel good. That's all. Looking at the pain of others, I can't help but feel excited. Ha ha ha. In the private room, the patriarch of the gods' commercial alliances trembled slightly. He was afraid of this lunatic lord in his heart. The twins and Wang Tai were auctioning them off to make Long Fei very unhappy. Now, Long Fei was indeed unhappy. The purple-clothed girl looked at the unhappy Long Fei and said, Once that item is auctioned off, I'll leave it to you. Chapter 1996, Destiny God is still alive. Chapter 1996, Destiny God is still alive. Once he said that, Long Fei looked at the purple-clothed girl. Li Yuanba also looked at her. The twin girls who had been photographed also looked at her. Even the nether slave was looking at the purple-clothed girl. They were all shocked. After the item is sold, I'll leave it to you. The meaning behind those words. Long Fei said, All right, I will wait for that thing of yours to be sold off. I'll wait. At this moment, the purple-haired girl realized that what she said had caused everyone to misunderstand. She wanted to explain, but in the end, there was no explanation. No matter what, it was still a good thing for her that Long Fei could temporarily quell his anger. I'll let you calm down first. The purple-clothed girl thought to herself. The auction continued. Li Yuanba gave a silly smile and said, Boss, there's another sister-in-law now. Long Fei laughed, then looked at Wang Tai, seeing that the bones on his back were broken once again. You stay here, I'll go out for a bit. Wang Tai needed continuous bone pill. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to survive. However, when Long Fei stood up, Wang Tai grabbed onto Long Fei and shook his head. "Brother Fei, let me die." As soon as he finished, Long Fei said as he slapped him, "Your life is mine. Since I did not approve of it, you are not allowed to die." What was a little insult to him? If you die like this, you will be mocked for the rest of your life. Your mother will never be able to raise up her head again. Understood. Long Fei said angrily. Men had to endure it. Even if the sky were to collapse, he would have to grit his teeth and endure it. Wang Tai held on to Long Fei and did not let go. Long Fei shouted, "If you want to die like that again, then you are not my Long Fei's brother." Wang Tai looked at Long Fei. Although the 8 chains broke in the cage, they were still embedded in his bones, and with a slight movement of his body, the chain dragged the ground with a crashing sound as he said, "Brother Fei, I won't say anything more. I don't need the continuous bone pill either. I want to stand up by myself. For Mother." His eyes were different. Long Fei looked at his resolute expression and did not walk out of the private room. It would be difficult for him to hold on without the continuous bone pill. However, Wang Tai's gaze suddenly turned sinister. His hand grabbed the black, deformed bone on his back, and he spasmed. Hiss! Blood gushed out. But Wang Tai did not let out a scream and did not even frown. Slash! Another deformed bone was extracted from his body. The scene was appalling. The twins didn't dare look at him. In just a few minutes, all of those deformed and fractured bones were completely pulled out of Wang Tai's body. His body was trembling nonstop, and his face was as white as paper. Boom! Wang Tai suddenly roared out, following that his entire body became like a hedgehog with over 100 black bones growing out from his body. Incomparable savagery. At the same time, a red light shone from his heart, the power of the heavenly bone. It erupted at full power. As the last forbidden barrier was broken, Wang Tai's own face became distorted and incomparably ugly. Cultivating the power of heavenly bone was exactly the same. The higher the cultivation, the more unrecognizable it would be. In the end, it was like a monster. Being called a monster for dozens of years, Wang Tai could see through everything and put down everything. Since it was a monster, then just treat it as a monster that no one dared to look straight at. What a powerful strength! The purple-clothed girl looked at the black bones on Wang Tai's body and felt her mind shake. Nether Slave was also slightly shocked as he said, "I have never seen this kind of power before." Li Yuanba laughed foolishly. "Bro, you've been reborn." The pain on Wang Tai's body had completely disappeared and was replaced with a kind of satisfaction. He looked at Long Fei and said, "Brother Fei, I won't be like before." Long Fei smiled lightly and said, "That's more like it, and more so. The strength in your body is much stronger than you can imagine. Since everyone is calling you monster, then use your monster attitude to scare them." This was what a monster was. Wang Tai nodded heavily. The next auction item is the god's holy sword. The price of this sword that came from the main temple is 10 million. Each bid to increase it by at least 500,000. As soon as he finished, excitement filled the audience. The sword of the main temple. I'll pay 20 million, 30 million, 50 million, 80 million. It was completely unexpected. At this time, a naked woman walked out from room number 6 and lightly said, "Master number 6 made a bid. 100 million divine stones plus a heaven-rank spirit grass." What a great gift! Who's in room number 6? This is too awesome. Just a heaven-ranked spirit grass is worth 50 million. That's 150 million altogether. God's holy sword, the destiny god's weapon. However, it is not as simple as a weapon. The black robe man in room number 6 said in a low voice. It was hard to see his appearance under the black robe. He looked like a person without a face, and his entire body was emitting a sinister and terrifying aura. Is there anyone else who wants to increase the price? Is there anyone else who wants to increase the price? 100 million godstones is sold. The hammer came down. Presided Elders was excited. Your esteemed guest is bidding for room number 6. Congratulations, sir. The purple-clothed girl said, Where did you get this sword? Long Fei did not expect the god's holy sword to actually send out a bid of over 100 million, and said softly, It was dropped by the destiny god. Huh. The purple-clothed girl was stunned. It was dropped. Long Fei explained. It was stolen from him. The purple-clothed girl said, Destiny God is a deity of high status within the main temple. He controls the fate of 100,000 plain gods, and similarly his own fate. How could he die so easily? She didn't think much about it. Long Fei did not think too much about it. In short, after Destiny God died, he also gained experience. The system would not lie to him. It did not matter whether he fell or not. Li Yuanba walked to Long Fei's side, stuck close to Long Fei's ear, and said in a low voice, Boss, the soul of the destiny god isn't in hell. He's not dead yet. Huh. In that instant, Long Fei acted as if he had been electrocuted. Impossible. If he's not dead, then he... Long Fei's eyes flashed with a sharp light, instantly breaking out of the door. Bam. The door to room 6 was kicked open, and a naked woman died on the ground. There was no one in the room. The god's holy sword was also taken away. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly. Could it be he placed his own soul inside the heavenly king's sword? Damn. In the air above City of Martial Arts, with God's holy sword in hand, the black robe man stood in the air and said sinisterly, Long Fei, we will still meet again. Ha ha ha. Chapter 1997, Making Trouble. Chapter 1997, Making Trouble. The god's holy sword's attributes were ordinary. There wasn't anything special about him. And this was also the reason why Long Fei didn't take him seriously. But who would have thought that Destiny God was not dead? He was the one in charge of this destiny, and had long since found a path for himself to retreat. 100 times more complicated. Long Fei was wrong. However, if he doesn't die, then let's kill him again. I have never been afraid of too many enemies. I only fear that the enemies are weak. Long Fei made up his mind. Back to his room. Li Yuanba immediately came over and asked, Boss, what happened just now? Long Fei laughed. I'm fine. At this time, the violet-robed maiden said slightly, It's about to begin. Nether Slave's eyes shook, and he immediately walked out. Presided Elders said slightly, Today, we will find the last spirit treasure, and it will also be the final giant treasure. This is a treasure that our gods' commercial alliances spent an enormous amount of energy to find in the primordial era. 9 lives, 9 deaths, 9 reborn spiritual flowers. Legend has it that it can bring people back to life. It can also allow an ordinary martial artist to have the 9 revolutions divine power, and it can also help an extreme genius progress a step further and obtain the power of the 9 revolutions divine spark. Its existence makes even main temple jealous. Whoever can obtain it will be able to change their fate. The auction price is 100 million godstones, and each bid cannot be lower than 10 million. The bidding begins now. As soon as he finished, The entire audience was in an uproar. They were not in a hurry to bid, but were discussing instead 9 reborn spiritual flowers, a spirit grass that can defy the heavens and change the fate. Does this kind of thing really exist in this world? The legendary divine object. Impossible. 100 million godstones. Who can afford it? At this moment, the youth in room 1 walked out. Looking at the purple-clothed girl, he lightly smiled and said, "Young Valley Master, are you still not going to make your move?" The purple-clothed girl said, "Are you in a hurry?" Ha ha ha. At this time, number 3, number 4, all the people in the other rooms walked out of their rooms and went to the window. One of them said, "God's commercial alliances entered the ancient desolation and found 9 reborn spiritual flowers." What? You aren't even going to take it out for us to see? Exactly. You have to show it to us as well. We can't just take the air, can we? There were no 9 reborn spiritual flowers on the auction stage. The presided elders smiled slightly and said, "Masters, you are right. We need to take out the treasures at the auction, but this item is too valuable. I'm worried that there might be a disciple that would be greedy. If you're afraid of being robbed, then what auction is that?" Exactly. Take it out for me to take a look. Take it out for me to take a look. Presided elders looked to his side. After receiving tacit approval, presided elders clapped his hands, and a white-haired old man came out from behind the scenes. In his hand was something that looked like a bird cage, and it was covered by a black cloth. Nether Slave's eyes tightened. Middle God, powerhouse. Mississippi, he's the old man Tianju that the gods' commercial alliances spent a lot of money to hire. 100 years ago, his cultivation was already at the 3rd stage of the middle god. I'm afraid now. Middle god, a very strong existence. Long Fei felt an incomparably heavy pressure from just a single glance. And then the white-haired old man lifted the black cloth. A stalk of spiritual light flashed in all 4 directions, and 9 small white flowers appeared. Each flower was different, and it looked as if it had experienced life and death, layer upon layer, 9 stages of life and death. It was also known as the 9 revolutions. Long Fei looked at Li Yuanba and asked softly, "Is it real?" Li Yuanba shook his head. "Me doesn't know either. It's too far. I can't feel the 9 revolutions transcendental towers, aura." "How far do I need to go to sense it?" Li Yuanba replied. "We can't be less than a meter away from it. Furthermore, the cage in the old man's hand should be a small-scaled formation, so we'll definitely be able to catch its aura. A meter is too far away." "Damn," Long Fei muttered. "If it's real, does it really have the power to revive the dead?" Li Yuanba said, "Not only that, it also allows you to recreate your 9 revolutions divine gate. With a 9 revolutions body, it is said that your 9 revolutions body is a body that will never die, which is countless times stronger than any undefeated or any mortal body without a fate wheel. Boss, why don't we try and steal it? If it really turns out to be a prophet, then so be it." Li Yuanba was a little excited. Hearing his words, Long Fei was a little excited. 9 revolutions. In the game, a first transition or a second transition was hard to accomplish, and a 9th transition was something that could only be done in private if he could instantly go through 9 cycles. That was awesome. Long Fei snickered. Li Yuanba understood and quietly left the room. At this time, Nether Slave whispered, "Miss, everything is ready." The purple-haired girl coughed and said, 500 million divine stones. Crash. It didn't matter if he didn't say anything, but once he did, Long Fei immediately jumped up from his chair in fright. "Damn, is this girl really that rich?" The first bid was 500 million. The entire audience suddenly quieted down. They were all stupefied. Night King Valley is only SOSO, only 500 million? Our Kunlun clan bids 800 million. An old man stood at the window and shouted, an increase of 300 million in an instant. Karakoram. I heard that the clans of the battleground heard that the Kunlun army was extremely ferocious and swept across the battlefield. Even the Karakoram clan has made their bid. The teenager from the Legend Palace chuckled and said, 1 billion. The purple-clothed girl frowned and said, 3 billion. The elder from the Karakoram clan grinned and said, 5 billion. The youth from Legend Palace did not continue bidding, but looked towards the purple-clothed girl. The purple-clothed girl's forehead tightened. She didn't continue nagging and directly said, 2 billion. What a great gift, young Valley Master. The Legend Palace laughed lightly, then looked towards the auction stage and said, I don't have that many god stones, but I have a scroll of the Heavenly Treasure Secret Art, which is worth 3 billion god stones. Heavenly Treasure Secret Art. An ancient treasure. My God, since you've brought out the Heavenly Treasure Secret Art. The elder from the Karakoram clan narrowed his eyes and said, I give up. 3 billion was something he couldn't afford. The purple-clothed girl took off the bracelet on her wrist and said, when my ancestor was alive, he used the battleground's achievements to exchange for this bracelet from the god. Its value is priceless. Moreover, use it to make my Night King Valley do anything. A trace of light flashed in the eyes of the teenager from the Legend Palace, and he suddenly said, blood sacrifice bracelet. He actually brought it here. Nether Slave wanted to stop him, but he knew that he couldn't persuade her otherwise. As long as the old master was willing, she would spare no cost. The Legend Palace youth said slightly, young Valley Master is still powerful. I give up. The 9-ranked Sky Spirit Flower is yours. While they were talking, the young man from Legend Palace accidentally revealed a smile. The smile faded. Long Fei had a bad feeling about this. Presided elders asked, is there anyone that has bid higher than young Valley Master Blood Sacrifice Bracelet, the most valuable treasure of the ancient war god, who could compare to it? At this time, Long Fei walked out, smiled slightly, and said, I bid 10 billion. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1998, 20 billion. Chapter 1998, 20 billion unfathomable. Plus, all of a sudden, Long Fei stood up and bid. I bid 10 billion. This number stunned everyone on the spot. The youth from the Legend Palace opposite of him had his eyebrows knit even tighter as the expression in his eyes slightly changed. Although it was very light, Long Fei had noticed it. The violet-robed maiden immediately said, What are you doing? The corner of Long Fei's mouth hooked up as he said, I'm bidding for something. Nether Slave revealed hostility and shouted, Brat, this is not a place for you to behave atrociously. The purple-clothed girl had even taken out her ancestral blood sacrifice bracelet. She had already made up her mind. Right now, the Night King Valley strength was not that strong. 10 billion. He couldn't take it out at all. Long Fei was still smiling and said, How can you call it being wild? I also want that 9 reborn spiritual flowers. I heard that it has the effect of bringing someone back from the dead. Who doesn't want this kind of thing? The purple-clothed girl frowned and stared at Long Fei. Even if she had always been extremely intelligent and had always believed in Long Fei, she was also a little anxious right now. She didn't know what Long Fei wanted to do. However, no matter what Long Fei wanted to do, she would not let go of the 9 reborn spiritual flowers. The young man from the Legend Palace said slightly, 10 billion is not a small number. It is not something that anyone can take out. Can you take it out? The elder from the Karakoram clan also asked, Kid, can you take out 10 billion? That's right. Can a person from Devil Island like you take out 10 billion? Devil Island is such a poor place to fall. What divine stones would they have? And 10 billion, you did it on purpose, didn't you? If he could take out that much money and start his own woman, Brothers Auction wouldn't be so hard to call out that price, right? Exactly. Many people questioned. Presided elders looked at Long Fei and said, Can you take out 10 billion? Long Fei said, Who cares if this daddy can afford it? If I can't, then I won't buy it. Now you should ask if there is anyone else willing to offer a higher price. The field elder shivered and looked in another direction. All the adults in the room frowned. The 9 reborn spiritual flowers was no small matter. Moreover, the purpose of this item. Just as he was hesitating, the purple-clothed girl spoke again. I bid 15 billion, and the blood sacrifice bracelet and Night King Valley's territory. These will be enough for 15 billion. As soon as he finished, the audience was stunned once again. The Legend Palace youth revealed a trace of excitement and immediately said, Young Valley Master is bold. However, without waiting for him to be happy, Long Fei casually said, 20 billion. Boom. Like a bomb, the entire audience was in an uproar. The purple-clothed girl looked at Long Fei with an anxious expression and said in a low voice, Do you really have to fight with me? Ha-ha. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, There's no other way. I want to as well. You. The purple-clothed girl stared at Long Fei. Wang Tai and the twins walked up, puzzled. Nether Slave was fuming. The spirit chi on his body completely exploded, as though he was going to attack Long Fei. However, it was not only them who had an unsightly expression, it was also the teenager from Legend Palace. His expression was extremely unsightly, especially his expression was extremely gloomy, and he even had the urge to kill someone. Long Fei pretended not to notice anything, but he thought to himself, There must be a conspiracy behind this. Presided elders muttered, 20 billion? It's not that I doubt your strength, but this 20 billion is not a small amount. You must take it out and see, otherwise I won't be able to bid with my bare hands. Yes, you're right. What if he can't afford it? I suspect he's here to cause trouble. Who the hell is this trash from the Devil Island? He even called out a sky-high price of 20 billion. Who is he trying to fool? Long Fei looked at the purple-clothed girl, and then walked forward and said, Let me ask, what's the value of half a main artifact? As soon as he finished, the entire crowd was stunned and stupefied. Half main artifact, this sort of godly weapon, was simply a legend. The Legend Palace youth frowned and said faintly, If it really is a half-main artifact-level divine weapon, it is a priceless treasure, definitely above 20 billion divine stones. Long Fei's right hand moved, taking out the Yama edge, and said, This black knife is half a main artifact. It possesses absolute strength, and I believe that many people have seen its power, so I didn't say anything more. Now, do I have the qualifications to continue bidding? Yama Edge S were undefeatable, and the undead old monster of Chen's family, S were instantly killed with a single slash. The knife caused a sensation, but no one expected that the blade was actually half a main artifact. The teenager from the Legend Palace stared at the Yama Edge in Long Fei's hands and thought to himself, as expected of him, with the descent of the miracle, this blade should be able to reach the level of half a main artifact. Immediately, he hesitated. Half main artifact godly weapon. This kind of weapon, let alone the same grade, it was even possible to kill one at a higher level, let alone the same grade. If he could obtain it, The Legend Palace youth was moved. There was a distinct change in his eyes. The purple-clothed girl said anxiously, "Long Fei, what exactly do you want? Do you know how important 9 reborn spiritual flowers are to me? Can I beg you? Give it to me, please." She had been searching for it for years, and now it was finally right in front of her. Long Fei's interference caused her to feel fear in her heart. She wanted to save her father. He wanted to save Night King Valley. However, her strength was far from enough. Even she could not suppress her in Night King Valley. There were many elders in the valley who could not accept her power. If they could revive their father, then it would be different. The 9 reborn spiritual flowers was her only hope. Long Fei saw the purple-clothed girl's eyes flash, and looked as though she was about to cry. His heart really ached, but he didn't express anything, and smiled faintly. "Young Valley Master, if you want to bid even higher, you can," Nether Slave shouted, and angrily said, "Brat, you unlucky brat, the young mistreated you so well, yet you treat her like this. What do you want to do?" Long Fei laughed heartily, and said, "You want to obtain the 9 reborn spiritual flowers? Ha ha ha." At this moment, presided elders said excitedly, "The price of half a main artifact is definitely higher than 20 billion divine stones. Is there any higher price than 20 billion? Are there any higher prices? If not, it's his." The purple-haired girl's body became weak, and she almost couldn't stand properly. She couldn't take out any more divine stones. The territories of the blood sacrifice bracelet and Night King Valley had already exceeded the limits of what she could bear. 20 billion. She couldn't afford it. Clang! The hammer came down. Presided elders said loudly, "All right, Long Fei will take care of the 9 reborn spiritual flowers." The purple-clothed girl's body sank, and her eyes became lifeless. Long Fei walked to his side and lightly said, "Bring them 3 away first." And then, with one step, he flew up to the auction platform. Chapter 1999. Fake, start. Chapter 1999. Fake, start. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. In God's Commercial Alliances' private room, the adults started laughing maniacally. Half a main artifact. Ha ha ha. An unexpected surprise. An unexpected gain. It's much better than the blood sacrifice bracelet. Many of the elders didn't understand. The messenger couldn't help but ask, "Sir, this, a price of 20 billion was indeed something to be happy about, but I don't understand." The adult laughed. "You don't need to understand." He did not explain. This was a top secret. There was no need to explain. Long Fei landed on the stage. The presided elders grinned. "Congratulations, Sir Long Fei. Congratulations." Presided elders then said to the purple-clothed girl, "Young Valley Master, from now on, our God's Commercial Alliances will provide you with information regarding the 9 reborn spiritual flowers free of charge. If we find any more, we will definitely notify you immediately and give you the right to buy them first." The purple-clothed girl smiled bitterly. Nether Slave swept his sleeves fiercely, stared at Long Fei, and said, "I've misjudged you." The 2 of them walked into the room. The purple-clothed girl immediately recovered and said, "Uncle you Nether, Long Fei might be busy right now." Nether Slave did not hear what Long Fei said at the end and shouted, "What does his trouble have to do with us? Miss, there's no need to bother with people like this ever again." He was still full of anger. The violet-robed maiden said, "Take the 3 of them and leave first." The Nether Slave did not understand and said, "Miss, at this time, you still want to protect him?" The twins said, "Lord Long Fei is not like that. He must have some other purpose or have found something else." Wang Tai stood up and said, "I also believe Brother Fei." The purple-clothed girl was unsure, but her intuition told her that Long Fei would definitely cause trouble. Immediately, the violet-robed maiden immediately ordered, "Uncle Nether, take the two of them and leave. Wang Tai, you go downstairs as well." Immediately, Nether Slave looked at the purple-clothed girl. Although he was unhappy, he still followed her order. Wang Tai also walked out of the room. The purple-clothed girl's body moved. She quietly hid in the darkness. It was impossible to clearly see her figure, and not even a trace of her aura could be seen. Even a supreme expert would not be able to sense his existence. At the same time, the Heavens Listening technique was activated. On the auction platform, presided elders walked to Long Fei's side and said, "Now, hand the black knife over, and the 9 reborn spiritual flowers will be yours." At this moment, everyone in the room was extremely nervous. Long Fei grinned and said, "What's the rush? It's not like I'm going anywhere." Long Fei walked to the side of the white-haired elder, looked at the 9 reborn spiritual flowers in the cage, and said, "Is that the 9 reborn spiritual flowers that can bring people back to life?" The white-haired old man did not speak. Long Fei asked, "How many people can he save?" Presided elders said, 9 reborn spiritual flowers can bring a person back to life. This is only a legend. No one knows how it is used." "Oh, so that's how it is." Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "In that case, if it fails to save a person, it should not be concerned with the matters of your God's commercial alliances." The presided elders was startled and said, "Of course, we can only guarantee that he is a 9 reborn spiritual flowers, and not whether or not he can save others. If we failed to save him, then we definitely did not find the right method. It has nothing to do with our God's commercial alliances." Long Fei laughed. "Then if it is fake, then we can only blame our bad luck, right?" At this moment, the center of the brows of the young man from Legend Palace tightened. Presided elders' face slightly changed and said, "What do you mean? Are you questioning the capabilities of our God's commercial alliances? Are you insulting our God's commercial alliances?" "Yo, what a big hat. Since you say so, then I'll be more direct. Yes, I am insulting you." Long Fei laughed. The presided elders' eyes turned sinister as he shouted, "Long Fei, are you here to cause trouble? I advise you to be more honest, pay the money obediently, and leave. Nothing will happen to you if you dare." Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei raised his blade and hacked down. Presided elders' body instantly split into 2. There was not even a drop of blood on the blade. Long Fei looked at the corpse coldly and asked, "What do you dare?" Suddenly, everyone present was shocked. He was shocked by this scene. To kill the people of the God's commercial alliances at the auction. Does this man want to die? Standing beside him was a super powerhouse of the middle god. It could easily crush Long Fei to pieces. Long Fei shouted, his blade moving, and said, "What kind of bullshit 9 reborn spiritual flowers do you use to deceive a woman? Don't you feel ashamed? Your goal is to get that blood sacrifice bracelet, right? You want the killer system of the Night King Valley. Can you be like a man and be a bit more righteous? Just by being a despicable person, it would be a shame for you people to live on." Long Fei said heavily. The entire audience was in an uproar. The 9 reborn spiritual flowers is fake. It's to deal with Night King Valley? Is that really the case? Could this be a conspiracy auction? In the private room of the God's commercial alliances, the Lord's face changed. With a sinister look in his eyes, his killing intent burst out as he shouted, "You dog, you're courting death." At this moment, the young man from the Legend Palace pointed to the sky and instantly landed on the auction stage. He laughed lightly. No one has ever seen a 9 reborn spiritual flowers before. How do you know that it is fake? I knew it was you. Long Face sneered in his heart. I don't know, but if you say it like that now, then it's 100% fake. Ha ha. I wanted to test it to see if it was real or not, but I didn't expect to know after a try. The young man from Legend Palace frowned and stared coldly at Long Fei. Indeed, it's fake. The real 9 reborn spiritual flowers, no one would take it out to auction. It's used to deal with Night King Valley. But the people from the Night King Valley have already left. They will definitely not protect you now. But I have to die here today. The bidding just now had already offended the people of Night King Valley. He could also feel that the people from Night King Valley and the assassins had all left the auction house. If he lost these people, would Long Fei be the only one? That's easy. In the room, the purple-clothed young girl's tears flowed unceasingly. She felt herself to be so stupid to actually suspect Long Fei. She felt herself to be so stupid, yet she didn't notice such a huge conspiracy. It wasn't her fault. She was anxious to save her father and would not give up even a sliver of hope. Boom. A door was kicked away, and the Lord who came from God's commercial alliances was enraged, his killing intent soared to the sky. He stared at Long Fei and bellowed, "Brat, you're dead today." While they were talking, he walked over to the white-haired old man and knocked over the cage that contained the 9 reborn spiritual flowers and shouted, "What are you waiting for? Kill him." Chapter 2000 Gate of Healing, open! Chapter 2000 Gate of Healing, open! The white-haired old man's eyes lit up. Buzz! A ray of light burst out. The pressure was like a mountain instantly surging into Long Fei's sea of consciousness. Buzz! Long Fei's body sank, and he almost couldn't stand properly. A super powerhouse of the middle god. An extraordinary pressure. Also, this pressure was formless. There was no direction to it. Long Fei was caught off guard by the sudden pressure. He had no way to block it. "You dog. So what if I know that the 9 reborn spiritual flowers is fake? You must die today." That Lord said, fiercely. At this moment, the sound of heavy footsteps rang out as he asked, "Who wants my boss to die?" Boom. Rumble. Like a berserk bull, his entire body charged out from the void. Without waiting for the god's commercial alliance's Lord to stabilize himself, he was directly sent flying. He knocked over a wall and buried it in the rubble, unconscious. At the same time, the thick stone coffin on Li Yuanba's back shook violently. Wong! The instant he landed, he directly shattered the pressure released by the white-haired old man. He stared at the white-haired old man and shouted, "Use your pressure to crush my boss again." King Kong, powerful and domineering, Li Yuanba's sudden appearance caused everyone to tremble. It was not because of his power, but his way of appearing directly rushing out of the void. The Legend Palace youth's eyes darkened. "It's just the two of you." As soon as he finished, whoosh, 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 the surrounding black figures descended, all of them being powerhouse-s at the peak of the lower god. He immediately surrounded Long Fei and Li Yuanba in the middle. At this time, the Wong clan elder stood up and formed a seal with his hands. Ha! A golden poison corpse crawled out from the ground and shouted, "Kill him!" Golden poison corpse? Corpse King? The entire audience was in an uproar, and many people anxiously retreated, as all they had to do was inhale a little poison gas from the golden poison corpse, and they would turn into poison corpse. This kind of golden corpse king was too powerful. It was brought back from the battleground by the Wong family ancestor. It was the ancestor of the Wong family's poison corpse, and also the strongest poison corpse. Before entering the auction, Wang, Qi, Zhao, and Chun clan had received secret orders to deal with Long Fei. These clans and Long Fei all had deep grudges against each other, especially the Wang clan. They must take revenge. And then Qi, Zhao, and the experts from the Chun family also rushed to the auction platform. Ha ha ha. It's so lively here. How can I be absent? Boom. The elder from the Karakoram clan also gave a loud shout and landed on the stage. He looked at Long Fei and laughed coldly. Kid, I heard that your head is worth a lot of money. Whoever can take your head off will be promoted to become the strongest power in the ancient God War, as well as the strongest clan. Long Fei and the main temple confronted each other. This was something that everyone knew. In the past, it was a battle in the Devil Island, but now it was a battle in the primordial divine war. Moreover, Zhan Wushuang also said that whoever could kill Long Fei would be able to gain control of the primordial divine war. This condition was too tempting. No one could refuse. Long Fei grinned. Wow, looks like there are a lot of people who want my life. Li Yuanba said naively. Boss, you leave first. Leave these people to me. Me too. Boom. At one point, Wang Tai rushed out. The Wang clan elder coldly snorted. Monster. Wang Tai did not care, but walked straight in front of the Golden Corpse King. His eyes turned sinister. The god's bone taboo in his body erupted out. His hands moved, blocking the Golden Corpse King's path. The Golden Corpse King's poison was crazily eroding. However, it was completely useless. The Legend Palace youth sneered and said, adding one more monster, it's only the three of you. What can you do? Long Fei, if I were you, I would obediently kneel and beg for mercy. This way, you might even die without pain. Long Fei said, if you weren't me, you wouldn't have been me. What kind of trash is your identity? It was also at this time the purple-clothed girl walked to the window and asked, more people than others, right? Then let's see who has more people. All of you, come out. Buzz. In the whole auction hall, assassins appeared one after another in the dark and surrounded the whole place. Moreover, a lot of them were hiding in the dark. Assassin. Being in the dark is the worst thing because you probably don't even know how you died. The gaze of the youth from the Legend Palace darkened as he said, young Valley Master, you still haven't left. The purple-clothed girl laughed. How can I leave? How could I leave without seeing your faces? Was my father's death also planned by you? Now that he thought about it, it was very possible. Step by step, Night King Valley was pushed into the abyss. The youth lightly smiled. So what if I am? With your current strength, are you even qualified to fight against Legend Palace? Night King Valley. Right now, it's just a joke. The violet-clothed young girl's gaze sank. Suddenly, Nether Slave rushed out. Who dares to laugh at Night King Valley? The void moved. In the darkness, a dagger slashed towards the youth's neck. It was as fast as lightning, and with the addition of a sneak attack, this move would definitely take his life. However, the teenager was not flustered at all. Without moving his body, he grabbed with his right hand, not allowing Nether Slave to get close. He released an extremely strong suction force from his palm, sucking Nether Slave into his hand. In that instant, the huge hand of the monster ferociously smashed on the ground. Bang, bang. With a loud noise, Nether Slave was sent flying. His mouth constantly spat out black blood, and his face was extremely pale. The young man from Legend Palace smiled lightly and said, I dare to joke that all of your Night King Valley are a group of trash. The King of the Dark Night? Ha ha ha. It's just dog shit. Uncle you. The purple-clothed girl landed and helped Nether Slave up. Nether Slave's face was pale, and he said softly, young miss, I'm sorry, I'm useless. No. The purple-clothed girl shook her head. Nether Slave looked at Long Fei, who was not far away, and said, "Kid, you must take good care of my young miss from today onwards. Please." Finished. Black blood gushed out. Nether Slave's body slowly became stiff. One-hit kill. This was the power of the Legend Palace. The youth sneered. "Since you didn't leave, then die here with him." Too strong. Long Fei could not even feel the fluctuations of his strength. Dealing with the Nether Slave's move, that move was as easy as pie. Powerhouse. A real powerhouse. Long Fei's blood boiled from the battle. His eyes were gloomy, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he revealed a cold, murderous smile. "Let's see who will die here today." At the same time, Li Yuanba rubbed his big bald head, grinned and laughed excitedly, stared at the white-haired powerhouse, innocently laughed, and said, "The gate of healing. Open. Thank you for your support. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.